Preparedness and flooding will come to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Chair King,
Here.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Here.
Bonin.
Here.
Darby.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lauterbach.
Here.
Moody. Verdell.
Here.
Wilson.
We have a quorum. Members and guests, thank you for joining us today. As a reminder, anyone present wishing to testify before the committee, please register at the kiosk located in the hallways behind the hearing rooms. If you require assistance in registering and testifying, please contact the committee staff. We, as all of you know, we passed a pretty significant package of disaster recovery and preparedness and relief bills yesterday. This is the next round. We are in a special session. I don't know how many of the bills still would have time in a special session, but this committee is empowered or is impaneled until January of 2027. There will be a lot of interim studies, and the work will continue into next session. So if your bill doesn't make it, or the idea has to be vetted a little more thoroughly, just know you're still going to have another chance at this as we move forward. Let the record reflect that Representative Moody is present. All right. As stated in the hearing notice, there will be a time limit of 2 minutes per witness during public testimony. Where is? There we are. Oops. Are we turned on for witnesses? Okay. Excuse me, we're having a technical difficulty. Okay, but it's still going to come up. There it is. Okay. Chair lays out House Bill 254, recognizes Chairman Ashby to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and committee members, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to lead off this morning with House Bill 254 before your committee. As some of you, or all of you may recall, back during the regular session, we passed House Bill 3010, which established the Rural Infrastructure Disaster Recovery Program to provide grants to small, poor, rural counties to repair and replace critical infrastructure. Under the current statute we passed, grants may only be provided to governmental entities in counties with a population of fewer than 100,000, a GDP of less than $2 billion, and a poverty rate exceeding 15%. Following the devastating July 4th floods in the Hill Country, I was approached by the city officials in Kerrville to ask if I would be willing to modify House Bill 3010, the criterion behind that program, to provide additional opportunity for counties in that area to receive state aid. So what this bill does, members, is it allows Kirk County and 18 other counties to receive state assistance as a result of the floods, eligible for funding from this program by specifically raising that GDP cap from $2 billion to $3 billion and lowering the poverty rate from 15% to 10%. That's all the bill does, and with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Members, are questions of Chairman Ashby at this time? Seeing none? Is there anyone wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 254? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Chairman Ashby to close.
I close. Thank you, members.
Thank you. If there's no objection, House Bill 254 be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 254 is left pending. All right. Chair lays out House Bill 68. Recognize Representative Lopez to explain her bill.
Thank you, Chairman King and members, for this opportunity to lay out House Bill 68.
Texas is a state of incredible geographic diversity from the high plains to the Gulf Coast and the Rio Grande Valley. But with that diversity comes real challenges, especially when it comes to managing flood risks in flatland areas. While much of Texas faces drought and water scarcity, other communities flood with just an inch or 2 inches of rain, including areas that don't have proper sewage. In areas like the Rio Grande Valley, just think about this, 10-year-old with siblings, 3-year-old and 4-year-old, terrified as the water is coming into their house, a foot of water, looking outside the window, snakes passing by, waiting to be rescued in the middle of the night. That story isn't an outlier. It's becoming the norm in low-lying areas. And that child was me, back in the 90s. Just this year, in March, several severe flooding occurred across the Rio Grande Valley, and then after that in San Antonio, Houston, and other areas as well. On July 4th, we had the intense rainfall caused by widespread damage across the state. Horrifying events, these are reminders that many of our communities remain dangerously vulnerable, especially those with natural drainage or flood insurance, without flood insurance. Flatland regions like the RGV lack the topographic relief needed to move water naturally. They depend on engineered infrastructure like retention basins, levees, and stormwater systems to keep people safe. But upgrading or building these systems is costly and complex. It often requires route rerouting, large-scale excavation, and long-term maintenance. Without a full understanding of these costs, we risk wasting taxpayer money on short-term fixes instead of long-term. Cost-effective solutions are very necessary. That's why House Bill 68 is so important. This would be a comprehensive study, planning, construction, and long-term maintenance. This bill builds on the 88th session with House Bill 4742, which allowed the Texas Water Development Board to perform a study on flatland areas that flooded. Key elements in this bill include clear definition of artificial drainage systems, a directive to work with relevant state agencies, and requirements to evaluate cost infrastructure, which I know that it's very important to find out the return on investment. And most importantly, actionable recommendations for cost-effective, financially responsible mitigation solutions. Remember, this is not a spending bill, this is a planning bill. It's about arming the state with local leaders with data so that when taxpayer dollars are spent in the future, they are spent wisely. And I believe that we do have witnesses today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members, are questions, Ms. Lopez, this time? Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Representative Lopez. Around the question of infrastructure and public infrastructure, what thoughts do you have as we go forward in the requirement of extreme weather and how that may need to play out in building standards or regulations with regard to private individuals and how it might impact them individually?
So we have the municipalities and the county drainage districts also. So they are the ones that can further give us more information specifically on that, and I can get you more information. But what I can tell you is that our families in South Texas are deeply affected, and across the state, not just South Texas. Families don't have insurance, and then water gets into their home, mold builds up, they lose their belongings, their bedding, their clothing, and it's very difficult for them to recuperate from that. And so by building the correct infrastructure, and I'll give you the example of when I went through it in the 1990s, they built the correct infrastructure, and my street has not flooded anymore. And this is prevention for the state also, because we're putting a lot of money into the flooding areas, and this would help to prevent as well. So I appreciate your question.
And in Houston, we've experienced something similar, that we've had 3 100-year floods and a 500-year flood in one particular neighborhood. And I have friends who went through the water loss. Obviously, that's a major property and casualty loss that causes everybody's premiums to go up. They rebuild, couple years later, it happens again, they rebuild. And now we have certain neighborhoods where the requirement is you can no longer build at ground level. Everybody has to go up 6 feet. And so I appreciate you're bringing this kind of recognition that, and I'm sorry to hear what happened to you in the 90s, but it's no longer once every 20 years. I mean, it's getting to a point where this extreme weather is causing massive insurance cost and property casualty across the board. And one of the conversations we had in insurance last year was maybe it's time for us to set higher regulatory standards on building homes. And I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
As far as building, I know that the local municipalities, the counties set some of those regulations. I'm not familiar, I'm not an attorney. I would need to look at what are the codes and what can be improved, but that's definitely something that, if you feel strongly about, that we can have conversations with stakeholders that are knowledgeable in that area.
Yeah, no, just big picture going forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman.
Members, further questions, Ms. Lopez, this time? Seeing none, you have a few witnesses. We'll call you back shortly. Chair calls Ricardo Guerra, Fred Sandoval, Buddy Garcia, and Dr. Laura Presley. She's right there. Oh, ma'am, you spoke, so you have to come forward. She was right there on my list.
I don't want to testify.
Ma'am, you know that we have a rule. Please sit down, and all you have to do, I'm gonna call you up, you're gonna say, I do not wish to testify, and then you're not gonna say anything else, or I have to call you back.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. 1 second. She's on my list. Yeah, I'm on my registered to testify. You find her? Okay. Where, okay. Dr. Presley. Why is it not showing me how they're registered? Okay. Dr. Presley, we show you here as Dr. Laura Presley, registered on behalf of Texas Disaster Relief Transparency Group and yourself, testifying for the bill. If you do not wish to testify, you do not have to. Thank you. You are excused if you would like, or you can sit there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ricardo Guerra?
Yes.
We show you as Ricardo Guerra. You're the mayor of the city of San Benito. You're here on behalf of the city of San Benito and yourself, and you are for the bill, is that correct?
Correct.
Please begin, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for hearing me out. My name is Ricardo Guerra. I'm the mayor of City of San Benito. Been there for 2 terms. In support of this bill, what the Representative Lopez was saying is true. We have been going through lately, flooding. San Benito is located on the lower Rio Grande Valley. It's 35 feet above sea level. There's other cities, like we go to the bigger cities like McAllen, they're 135 feet above sea level. So what's going to happen? A lot of that water will be coming down to the smallest, to the lowest of Texas. So we do have areas that are that any 2 or 3 inches of rain, gathers up into the lowest part of the city. So there was, we have been, it might take maybe a day, possibly a day and a half by the time everything drains, but you have to realize that we're so flat. And a lot of our drainage canals have been, there for decades. They have not been able to maintain them as much as we can, because remember that some in the areas out there, they're sandy loam, meaning that any water starts caving in. So we do have to make more like concrete barriers to be able to hold the water. Detention ponds have to be made out there to be able to collect a lot of the waters and drain the waters away from the cities. Iowa Garden is a perfect example. That area is just outside the city limits, and I went there because I got told that the people needed rescuing. Anywhere between ankle deep to almost a little bit above waist deep water. Have been there for almost 2 weeks. People are still there. People were there. There was a lot of people that we had to go in there with big vehicles. Like the representative said, there was snakes. I never saw alligators because we are infested with alligators.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, are questions of Mr. Gow? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Fred Sandoval? We'll show you as Fred Sandoval, testifying on behalf of the city of San Benito and yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Fred Sandoval, I'm the city manager in San Benito. Again, just to add to the previous testimony by the representative and by the mayor, the planning dollars that this bill would facilitate, I think, would be invaluable, not only for our area of the state of Texas, but the state itself. The plan itself and all the studies that would come of it would really serve a big need for cities like ourselves to be able to chase some of those dollars and put these things, the infrastructure that we need in place. As the mayor stated, we're pretty flat. We're pretty much at sea level. But what concerned me is we had a big rain incident back in March, and not only were the residents and homeowners affected, but also our commercial folks, retail and business owners. So I believe the question was asked earlier about what type of regulations could be put in place, or how would that be shored up a little bit to help comply with that. And these planning dollars would help do that. There's a lot of different tools that can be used to shore up our building codes, but we need the data to be able to do that. So again, main expressways coming in and out of the valley, Rio Grande Valley, were flooded. All the access roads are flooded. So in case of there was almost no possibility of emergency vehicles getting in and out. These are the kind of things that concerned us. So again, thank you for your time and appreciate your support.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, are questions of the witness? Seeing none. Buddy Garcia. He is Buddy Garcia, testifying on behalf of yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members, good morning. My name is Buddy Garcia. I'm testifying in support of House Bill 68. In addition to being a government consultant, I was a state employee for over 23 years, including serving as Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Commissioner from 2007 to 2012. In addition to that, I'm a multi-generational resident and was born in Brownsville, Texas, and raised in Brownsville, Texas. My family is very familiar with that area. 58 years old, in 1967, Hurricane Beulah hit Brownsville, Texas. And as a result of that flood, the federal government decided to build a Retomel diversion dam, enabled the floodway that exists across the Rio Grande Valley to drain water to the Gulf of Mexico directly. As Region M, and Representative Martinez knows this, is primarily, it's a different situation in the valley in Representative Lopez's area, because the Rio Grande River is regulated by the U.S. and Mexican governments through the International Boundary and Water Commission. And since 1967, they really have not invested any more money into the drainage aspects of this Rio Grande Delta area. And so, as the mayor said, I was in Brownsville a couple of weeks ago, and it rained for 15 minutes and all of the frontage roads are flooded. harness some of that water, if this study, notwithstanding the fiscal note that this bill may have, to be able to harness some of that water for future use as well would be something would be worthy of consideration. The Rio Grande Valley from 67 to present, from an ag community to mostly residential, it's changed. There's a lot more impervious cover. I think the future desired conditions for the entire state would benefit from this study that this bill suggests, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you guys all for being here, and obviously it's an important conversation. I guess my question is more along the lines of, we have a state flood plan, and it took several years to put that plan together, and we have billions of dollars going forward dedicated to funding that plan, and I think in the design of it, a lot of it came from councils of government, in other words, projects that bubbled up from the local level to get into the plan. And so I guess my question really comes back to, how would this work with that, as opposed to being duplicative to, to what we're already trying to do?
Dr. Bond, who was your question for whoever?
The last witness would be just
Mr.
fine.
Just because we have multiples, just state your name before you respond.
Sure, Buddy Garcia, thank you for the question, Dr. Bonin. And this last legislative session, the 89th session, you funded a project, for example, the City of Brownsville potable water reuse program, which was allow some of this water to be captured, harnessed, and reused. I think it works in harmony, to answer your question, that some of these nuanced discussions could continue to develop with a study on flooding and drainage that has not been included in the state water plan, or for that matter in the flooding plans as of yet. From Houston to the valley, to any of the places that are along the coast or that are below sea level, as you seek maybe 50 years down the road, 5 years down the road, I think there's going to be a significant amount of changes, especially if we want the people to continue coming here. And along the Rio Grande, it's even more problematic, as I mentioned, because the federal governments of Mexico and U.S. are involved and are not planning to expand below those Falcon dams or Amistad dams any other plans. So it's kind of a bifurcated situation along the Rio Grande that's a little different from the state who's taking charge of our problems and our issues. But I think they could dovetail well, and I don't know what the cost for a study of this nature, but I think they could do well together. That's just my opinion.
So you don't think this current system of assembling the plan and going forward to address these needs would be effective? Like, we need to have this separate effort to make sure that we get it right?
I would defer the Water Development Board for their guidance, and they could probably answer that much more adequately.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Members, further questions of this panel? Seeing none, thank you all for being here. Chair calls Cyrus Reed. Record shows that you are Cyrus Reed. You're testifying on behalf of Lone Star Chapter Sierra Club, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
Very much so. Cyrus Reed, Lone Star Chapter of the Sierra Club. I don't know if I met the Megan rule of submitting written testimony by a certain hour. I don't know if it's in your Dropbox, but I do have written testimony, but I don't have copies. But I did send it to Megan and just now Riley.
What color is it, Cyrus?
It is no color because I didn't have time to get to my office to print it out. So
It's gonna be a
So I'm
surprise.
saving the Earth and the planet from my paper. Flood, and I'm going to try to answer Dr. Bonin's question in my brief testimony. Flooding is the most common natural disaster in Texas, resulting in millions of dollars in property damage. The 2024 state flood plan notes that 1 in 6 Texans live or work in flood hazard areas. The reason that HB 68 is important is the state has a diverse ecoregions and geography, so flood risks and those costs are very different across the state, particularly with drainage. And Representative Lopez knows this well. Being from the area, we do have a community organizer down there who's gone through multiple floods in the Valley area. We appreciate the filing of HB 6 and believe that the study and subsequent report would be instrumental in providing agencies and legislators with the data to make informed decisions about policy development and equitable allocation of resources for flood, including drainage infrastructure. And that's, I think, where we get to your question. We do have a state flood plan. It came out in 2024. They're already beginning the 29 flood plan. That will involve regional groups going through the bottom-up process of identifying, needs, but having a separate study looking at really the difference in cost in different geographies. And for example, as we've long advocated, should the economically distressed areas program also include residential drainage as part of what it can fund? Those are the kind of policy issues and differences in cost. And what's the role of building codes that was mentioned? What's the role of natural infrastructure, not just structural, but non-structural infrastructure? So those are some of the things that this study could look at and
Thank you for
hopefully
your
give you some
testimony.
policy recommendations.
Members, there are questions of Cyrus?
I feel
Mr.
like I
Reed?
spoke too loud, sorry.
No, you just too long. But I appreciate you being
Thank you.
here, Cyrus. Thank you.
And I was Buddy Garcia's next door neighbor a long time ago, and I'm about to turn 60, so I'm older.
Thank you. No questions.
Thanks.
Appreciate you being here. Is there anyone else wish to testify on for or against House Bill 68? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative Lopez to close. Briefly.
Thank you, Chairman. And in speaking with Texas Water Development Board, they felt, the feedback that I got was they felt that this was a good study, that they thought that it would be important for us to get something done like this. But I appreciate the bipartisan support from Vice Chairman Armando Martinez, and thank you for giving us this hearing today as well. And I appreciate the support from Lujan, Lauterbach, Canales, Cunningham, Morales, Dennis Paul, and Richard Raymond. Thank you all so much.
All right. Further questions, Ms. Lopez, members? Seeing none, thank you for being here. All right. If there's no objection, House Bill 68 will be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 68 is left pending. Chair lays out House Bill 75. Chair offers up a committee substitute and recognizes Representative McLaughlin to explain the bill.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Thank you for the opportunity. This bill sets clear safety standards for youth camps located within or near floodplains, strengthening how and where sleeping accommodations are built, mandating evacuation-ready site planning, and requiring realistic safety procedures be in place. The tragedy at Camp Mystic in Kerrville made painfully clear that cabins had been built in low-lying areas were vulnerable to flash floods. Some of these cabins had been previously marked on FEMA's 100-year floodplain map, but after changes to the map, they were allowed to remain in harm's way. On the night of the flood, children were left sleeping in structures directly in the path of rising water with no physical safeguards to protect them. Passing an inspection or posting a paper plan is meaningless if cabins themselves are sited in or near flood zones. House Bill 75 closes that gap by requiring youth camps to follow flood-aware building standards, keeping sleeping quarters out of high-risk areas, and adapt their site layout to ensure safe evacuation routes are always available. This legislation protects families who entrust their children's safety to us. It ensures that camps cannot look compliant on paper while still placing kids in buildings destined to flood. I'm ready to answer questions.
Thank you. Representative members, or questions of Mr. McLaughlin at this time? Seeing none, you have one witness. We'll call you back shortly. Chair calls Cyrus Reed. Record shows you're Cyrus Reed. You're testifying on behalf of the Lone Star Chapter of Sierra Club, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
Very much
Please
so.
proceed.
Establishing minimum building standards for youth camps to minimize and prevent flooding of a camp's building and other physical facilities is a really good idea. We support HB 75 because it should lead to better, more flood-resistant buildings in campgrounds near flood areas. We would note that one of the major recommendations of the 2024 state flood plan was to raise codes and standards. There were 4 main recommendations suggested by regional flooding planning groups. One was adopt minimum statewide design standards to reduce flood-related damage and loss of life, and another was update consistent statewide building codes and qualify Texas for maximum federal building resilient infrastructure and communities funding. So while we support the bill, honestly, we should be doing this all over in flood-prone areas, requiring more modern building codes. More modern building codes make a reference to the American Society of Civil Engineers 2024 standard, which requires things like you have to build the building above the base elevation. It's in my written testimony. I can't remember the acronym, but basically the base elevation of the flood. You have to have flood-resistant materials in that bottom floor, and you have to have an ingress and egress, and you got to get the utilities out of the flood zone. You don't want that electrical or other equipment in the flood zone. So in our minds, this is a great first step, and we support the bill. And looking forward, we hope this committee in general will look at the issue of building codes, county authority, what we allow in floodplains and what we don't. So very much support the bill, and I have written testimony which I submitted to your staff, which hopefully can be shared with the group. And I did send one to your office as well. And thank you for the bill. It's a great bill.
Thank you. Members or questions, Mr. Reed? Seeing none. Thank you, Cyrus.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else wish to testify on, for, or against House Bill 75? Seeing none. Chair recognizes Representative McLaughlin to close.
Members, thank you for your time and consideration of House Bill 75. I respectfully ask that the bill be reported for later out of committee, and I close.
Thank you. Members of questions, Mr. McLaughlin? Mr. Verdell?
Representative McLaughlin, it's good to see you. I did just want to make a quick point here on the, this is actually not against your bill or anything like that, but to point out, because I keep seeing this brought up, is the 100-year floodplain being talked about. My understanding from the maps that I've seen from a floodplain engineer, like for the camps located on the Guadalupe River, is that none of those buildings were actually within the 100-year floodplain, and that this probably would have more effect in East Texas, where, 20% of Texas land is in a floodplain right now. And so I think this probably does have a good effect on East Texas. I just kind of wanted to point out that, like, if you look at the Guadalupe River, I don't think those camps, this would end up applying to those camps. So just wanted to point that out. But
Sure. Well, I mean, I grew up on Four Rivers in Uvalde. I've seen I guess it may date my age a little bit, and Drew, you'll probably laugh at this, but I've seen two 500-year floods on the Frio and one on the Nueces.
yeah.
And, the thing is, with these camps and different things, I went to a lot of church camps and youth camps when I was young, and most all those camps had their cabins set far back from the river, and you walk down to the river. But as we've developed and people go and they want the newer, better facility, they built more down toward the river, more on the river, and so forth, where when we were kids and grew up at those camps, they were always set back a good ways from the river.
Yeah.
So this would hopefully start that again.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Side note, I did get kicked out of a church camp back in the day, so.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes,
You
sir.
cannot close yet. You had another witness slip in
Okay.
before we got you out of here,
Okay,
so hold tight.
yes, sir.
Chair calls Kenneth Flippin. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against this wonderful piece of legislation? I see none. If you do want to testify, please register. All right, Chair, record shows that you're Kenneth Flippin. You're testifying on behalf of Texas chapter of U.S. Green Building Council and yourself, and you are for the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct. We
Please
just
proceed.
want to say that, similar to other bills that we'll testify in support of, this is just common sense regulation. We think that it's going to help save lives in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that testimony. Members, are questions, Mr. Flippin? Mr. Verdell? No. Oh, okay, no, we're gonna bring him back, because now we're done with witnesses.
Thank you.
Okay. One more time. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 75? I see none. Hearing none, the chair recognizes Representative McLaughlin to close. Mr. Verdell?
Thank you, Chairman King. I just want to point out, I did notice the very last part of the paragraph says, or within 5 feet of the 100-year floodplain, which actually would affect some of the camps. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Didn't realize that till after I said that. Thanks.
Mr. McLaughlin, do you close?
I close.
We'll see you later.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being here. The committee substitute is withdrawn. If there's no objection, House Bill 75 be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 75 is left pending. Chair lays out House Bill 71, recognizes Representative Gervin Hawkins to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members, for allowing me to lay out this bill. I want to start, though, by establishing a framework of why this bill is so important and need to be voted out immediately, if possible. So other measures associated with this issue focuses on general health, safety, compliance, inspection, staff training, and licenses. This bill is different because it creates a new statutory framework for youth camping and activity safety under TDM. It requires camps and youth activity entities to submit site-based emergency preparedness plans to TDM. So they'd have a plan up front when they decide to have a event. They coordinate with local EMS and sheriffs and maintain real-time communication and access for first responders, which allows activity to happen and hopefully survival things right away. By placing responsibility with TDM, the state's Emergency Management Division, House Bill 71 ensures emergency readiness is proactive, operational, and enforceable. So what House Bill 71 requires, as a condition of licensure, a youth camp must provide documentation showing it has submitted an emergency preparedness plan to TDM. This ensures the licensure is tied to actual preparedness, not paperwork alone. HB 71 establishes a statutory framework for youth camping and activity safety. It defines the covered entities, including camp, especially encompassing day camp and camps licensed under Chapter 141, Youth Activity Entity, and high-risk activity. And it confirms that division means the Texas Division of Emergency Management. These definitions make clear the bill's broad scope and align responsibilities with the state's emergency management expertise. The bill was filed in direct response to the tragic Hill Country flooding on July 4th, which showed us the urgent need for stronger youth camp safety, high-risk activity oversight, and emergency preparedness standards. The bill directs TDM in consultation with the Department of State Health Services, the Texas Commission on Fire Protection, and any other relevant state agency to adopt emergency preparedness standards and coordination protocols. The bill also specifies the DSHS, at TDM's request, must provide consultation to support this rulemaking process. Those standards require operators to submit a plan to TDM, post information about the plan on site, coordinate with local EMS, the sheriff, and TDM's regional staff, certify real-time communication capabilities, such as radios or cellular systems, so we know that they're working and actively in use, and maintain clearly marked emergency access routes for first responders so that they don't have to look around. The plan itself must identify location, specific risk activity based on hazards, evacuation procedures, staff responsibilities, and on-site readiness checklists. TDM is required to review each plan and, upon request, provide feedback or technical support. For every camp session or youth program period, the operations must coordinate with and give notice to TDM's regional staff, the local EMS provider, and the local sheriff to make sure everybody knows how many kids are there, who's in charge, all of that. The notice must include the location, the dates, minors will be present, head counts, a live contact, and designated emergency access points. The notice window is set at no fewer than 14 days and no more than 30 days before the program begins, with TDM authorized to adjust the timing based on the group size, risk profile, remoteness, or relevant factors. These provisions ensure that first responders have actionable information with enough lead time to pre-plan response and protect children effectively. The bill requires TDM to create an emergency readiness toolkit and post it publicly, providing operators with practical guidance to meet the standards efficiently and consistently statewide. To guarantee accountability, the bill authorizes the Attorney General to bring an action to impose a civil penalty of up to $1,000 for each violation. Each day a violation continues is treated as a separate violation, and the Attorney General may also recover court costs, reasonable attorney fees, investigative costs, witness fees, and deposition costs. This enforcement structure balances deterrence with due process and ensures there are real consequences for ignoring life safety requirements, while also incentivizing prompt correction of violations. There's been no physical note calculated with this. We believe that indeed the affected entities is part of already their scope of work and can be absorbed through what they do every day as part of. But I think we all know having that plan up front really gives everybody that preparedness that they need in case something happens. With that, I'm willing to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? I think you will reserve your right to close, Representative.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
At this time, Chair calls up Mario Cantu, Tyler Robertson, and Mr. Kenneth Flippin. Please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill for the record.
I'm Tyler Robertson. I represent CAMP, Camping Association for Mutual Progress, and Camp Longhorn, and I am neutral on the bill.
Kenneth Flippin, Texas chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council. We are for this bill. I want to just say a couple comments about it. I really like the aspect of this bill that we would give some notifications.
Mr. Flippin, hold on. Let me just have Mr.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Cantu, go ahead and
Yes, sir.
identify.
My name's Mario Cantu. Paramedic. Currently I do critical care team.
Hold on real quick. Your position on the bill, Mr. Cantu?
I'm for.
Okay. Now let's go ahead and start with, yes, sir, Mr. Robertson.
Good morning, members. My name is Tyler Robertson, and I'm here on behalf of the Camping Association for Mutual Progress on House Bill 71. I also serve as the director for Camp Longhorn C3. Representative Gervin Hawkins, it's good to see you here again. And thank you again for speaking at our annual conference last year. You were certainly the highlight of that evening. We have members still talking about your speech. We support the overall goals and many provisions of House Bill 71, and we welcome partnering with the Texas Division of Emergency Management for the expert guidance when crafting our emergency plans. Chapter 141 youth camps are licensed under the Department of State Health Services, so we just ask that there is appropriate coordination between the two agencies when a youth camp submits the plans to ensure there is no confusion. We look forward to continuing to work with you to develop policies to safeguard every child who attends camps in Texas. Thank you.
Members, any questions? Mr. Flippin?
Thank you. Kenneth Flippin, Texas chapter of U.S. Green Building Council. We're definitely for this bill. Couple of provisions that we think are very valuable. Not only thinking about these, kids being on the river, and the river gets high, and we need the ability to rescue them quickly. I think this would help with that. But I'm also thinking about fire, especially being from West Texas and knowing that some of these camps are in places where if we needed to have people rescued quickly, having the emergency folks aware that these things are happening would be very valuable. And so for all these reasons, I see it as valuable. I also see it as a larger model that we could consider for more adult camps as well as we maybe move into the next legislative session. Thank you.
Mr. Cantu?
Thank you. Mario Cantu. I'm currently a critical care paramedic, pediatrics. I've also worked in level 1 trauma center for about 7 years, assigned to trauma. So I know a lot about children and what parents witnessed at these events and how the kids behaved at these events and things that took place. The reason I'm supporting HB 71 is because of the framework. It has a really good foundation. It provides protocols. It also gives coordination standards, which are very important. I asked for camps to be notified as well and kind of have some interaction would be really good. Also, I would also ask to look at HB 215 because we always have in emergency management, we have the preparedness part, and then we have the alert part, and then we have after the fact. And this is the framework and foundation, which is the preparedness, and then we have the alert, and then we have after the fact is when we come in and there's rescue operations. So please take a look at HB 215 for nighttime signaling. I think these two things can really mesh really well. It provides the toolbox that the kids will need for nighttime signaling and also for rescue operations.
Mr. Gunther, real quick, just to make sure that we stay on this bill.
Yes, sir.
Because we don't want to
Yes, sir.
cause any issues. Thank you. So this is,
That's it for me. Thank you.
thank you. Members, any questions for our witnesses? Hearing none. Chair calls up, is there anyone else wishing to testify on, for, or against House Bill 71? Chair hearing none, calls up Representative Gervin Hawkins to close.
Members, thank you for hearing this, and I think it's so important, and I don't think we could wait till next legislative session to make this happen, mainly because we've got summer coming up, and we want to be ready. And I believe that this preparedness is truly critical in making sure that we're ready for next summer and next summer camping. So I would respectfully request that we get this taken care of as soon as possible so that we can be ready. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? Chair hearing none. If there's no objection, House Bill 71 be lived pending.
Thank you
Very much.
Thank you.
This time, Chair lays out House Bill 117, recognizes Representative Zwiener to explain the bill.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Martinez, and to the members of this committee. Members, I grew up riding horses at a little stable that was pretty close to I-35 off Old San Antonio Road in South Travis County. And in 1997, suddenly floodwaters reached 5 feet in each of those stalls. It was a 100-year flood, first one in the time that the owners of that place had been there. Next year, 1998, another 100-year flood, another situation of water at 5 feet in each of the stalls and lapping at their back door. 2 100-year floods in 2 years. And in the 1998 floods, by the way, about 31 people died in central Texas. What had changed was that across the creek and a little bit upriver, a big shopping development had been built at Slaughter Lane and South Congress, back when that still felt way south in Austin. The way we build has impacts on how properties flood. And my legislation is designed to try and help us start to get a handle on that, especially as we see more and more development outside of city limits and in the unincorporated areas. Those of you who are from the Hill Country know that our water systems are not sponges.
Representative, real quick, do you have a committee substitute? So this time the chair lays out the committee substitute to House Bill 117?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. You can go ahead and explain the committee substitute.
Thank you, Chairman. We talk about this idea of soil absorbing water in many parts of the state, but our hydrogeology is different. Instead, we have straws in the limestone that soak up water and take that water directly down into our aquifer. And if we cover up those straws, the water just runs off in sheets into our streams and can create these incredibly dangerous flash flood conditions that we experience in the Hill Country. We are already flash flood alley, and the way we develop can exacerbate that. In my district in Hays County, the unincorporated population grew 195% over the past couple of decades. And what that means is that when people are building, there's nobody who can look at them and say, hey, you're not building in the floodplain, but the way you're building is going to exacerbate flood downstream. That's something our cities are already doing to try and protect their communities, but our counties can't. And in my district, we've seen exacerbations of floods along the San Marcos and Blanco River. Because of this, we've seen exacerbations of flooding along Onion Creek and Plum Creek. So my legislation is very simple. It gives counties the ability to regulate impervious covers only for the purpose of flood mitigation. Because as we continue to have this high population growth in the hill country, that is essential if we are going to prevent these flash flooding incidents from continuing to get worse and worse and worse. So members, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I respectfully request my right to close.
Members, any questions? Sir, Representative Verdell.
Representative Zwiener, thank you for being here today. I have a question just because I don't have the substitute in front of me. What changed between the original and the substituted one?
I believe the substitute is just a ledge council draft.
Okay, copy
Yeah,
that.
so
Thanks
it's
a lot.
substantively the same.
Appreciate that.
Members, any other questions? Hearing none, we'll reserve your right to close. This time, Chair calls up Rick Bailey, Cliff Kaplan, J.D. Hale, and Ella Williamson. If you could please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. I'm County Commissioner Rick Bailey, Johnson County. I'm here in support of this bill.
Good morning, Cliff Kaplan. I'm the Program Director for the Hill Country Alliance in support of the bill.
Hi, I'm Ella Williams, and I'm here with Environment Texas in support of this bill.
Good morning, J.D. Hale, Texas Association of Builders, against House Bill 117.
Thank you, Chairman, members. I represent one of the fastest growing regions in north central Texas in Johnson County. We have a 17% growth rate. So many obstacles that we're dealing with in regards to mitigating water runoff. This, I see, could be possibly a tool. I don't know that it's a one-size-fits-all for such development, but I will say that with mud districts coming in, that from all over our county, trying to figure out ways to mitigate flash flooding or any of the growth that changes upstream, affects downstream. We could see this as a tool that we possibly could use in our tool chest just to mitigate the runoff. I have a lot of tributaries in my particular county, in my precinct, and we constantly are battling low water crossings and erosion that comes with that, and it all comes back to going back to the taxpayers. So I would greatly appreciate consideration for this bill, just to give us the tools that we need, if warranted, where it would work. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to thank Representative Zwiener for filing this bill. It's important legislation. Over the last several years, we've been regularly convening, the Hill Country Alliance is regular. Yes, sir.
If you can just state your name once again.
Oh, again. Cliff Kaplan, Program Director for the Hill Country Alliance in support of the bill. And the Hill Country Alliance is also a member of the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance. I can't speak on their behalf, of course, but I wanted to mention our membership since they couldn't be here today. We've been regularly convening county commissioners from across the Hill Country to discuss the challenges they face on flooding and other issues. And one challenge that regularly comes up is impervious cover. Even in the upland, that's to say outside of the floodplain, outside of the nearby areas to the river, impervious cover there impacts what happens in our floods. It is vitally important that we try to reduce impervious cover across our region to lessen the impacts of our flooding. A 2020 Johns Hopkins study found that for every 10% increase in impervious surfaces in a river basin, annual flood magnitude increases by an average of 33%. A different study from Texas A&M looking at coastal counties in Texas found that for every additional square meter of impervious surface, flood damage increases by $3,600 per year. And a 2022 study in the Journal of Sustainable Water in the Built Environment found that an increase in percent impervious cover was more impactful on flooding than that same increase in rainfall intensity. Just as increasing impervious cover makes flooding worse, reducing it or managing it wisely can help protect lives, property, and taxpayer dollars. Representative Zwiener mentioned the population growth in the unincorporated parts of her county, and I want to just acknowledge that that is similar to the population growth across the Hill Country. Kendall County has seen 176% of population increase in unincorporated areas between 1990 and 2020. Blanco County doubled its population in unincorporated areas between 1990 and 2020. So did Burnett County. Bandera more than doubled. So did Medina. So the population growth in unincorporated areas is
Thank you
large.
very much
Thank
for
you.
your testimony this morning.
Hello, my name is Ella Williams, and I'm here representing Environment Texas in support of House Bill 117. Texas is one of the fastest growing states in the country, and this rapid development often occurs in flood-prone areas like Flash Flood Alley in the Hill Country. Under natural conditions, our landscapes are designed to absorb a significant amount of this rainfall. However, with increasing impervious cover, this natural absorption capacity is drastically reduced. In fact, the research by the EPA indicates that a single acre of impervious cover produces 16 times more runoff than a natural meadow during a 1-inch rainstorm. This is why it's imperative that we take proactive steps to limit impervious cover in flood-prone areas and actively encourage strategies that mitigate flooding. Nature-based solutions can play an important role in mitigating flooding. For example, permeable pavers, which can be used for roads and parking lots, allow rainwater to infiltrate the ground rather than contribute to runoff. One case study done by the EPA in Minnesota found that adopting permeable pavements, underground storage, and rain gardens reduced runoff volumes between 77 to 100%. While each individual project may seem to have a small impact, on a large scale, these strategies can collectively have a significant positive effect on flood mitigation. Many of these solutions can be effectively implemented through a combination of education and incentives. For example, the Texas Water Development Board has a rain catcher program that successfully highlights individuals and businesses who've adopted these beneficial strategies. However, to truly protect our communities from the devastating impacts of flooding, we need more than just voluntary participation. House Bill 117 provides the necessary framework to address this challenge head-on. It's important to understand that regulations on impervious cover don't halt development, rather they encourage more responsible and resilient growth. For landowners, these measures can be beneficial by reducing flood risk on their properties and protecting their investments. By supporting this bill, we can ensure a more resilient future for Texas, protecting our communities and our natural resources from the increasing threat of flooding. We urge you to vote in favor of House Bill 117.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, my name is J.D. Hell, here on behalf of the nearly 10,000 builders, remodelers, and developers and associate members of the Texas Association of Builders. As stated by the bill author, the purpose of this legislation is to try to control flood. Counties already have the authority to regulate flooding, and I'm going to go over just a couple of those tools really quickly. Chapter 16 of the Water Code allows the counties to adopt ordinances to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. Once they adopt these ordinances, they can engage in floodplain management. They can adopt and enforce permanent land use and control measures. And they also are authorized to issue penalties for violations. Chapter 232 of the Local Government Code allows the counties to adopt model subdivision rules. As a part of the model subdivision rules, the county can require that subdivision provide for positive drainage. Chapter 232 also allows the county to adopt reasonable specifications that provide for drainage, that efficiently manage stormwater runoff, and to coordinate drainage for storm and other types of runoff patterns. Lastly, the county attorney can bring injunctions for plating violations, and all of the violations all of the statutes that I just mentioned there above. If anybody was found in violation of that would be cause for an injunction. Lastly, I'll just mention that there are several types of districts that this legislature and the Constitution authorizes a county commissioner's court to create. All of those special purpose districts, whether they're water control improvement district, drainage districts, and levee improvement districts, they all give the county the ability to regulate drainage and flooding. The gentleman over here to my left for the counties mentioned MUDs. They also have the ability to do that. My question is if they have all of these powers, why are the counties not using the powers that are granted to them, and why should we expand the authority if they're not using the authority that we've already given to them? I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner, in regard to his questions, would you be able to
I would,
comment on that?
well, certainly, and thank you for the opportunity. We're talking about density now, where we used to have rural, 100 acres of farmland that are now becoming densely populated with multiple homes. What used to be a sponge in the rural area is now concrete and roof. So to the idea that the county commissioners' courts can control that, we have no authority to control that when the state or TCEQ permits this without any input from the courts. And I'll stop there on that, but I will say that it is becoming very, very disturbing with homes that have never flooded in 50 or 75 years. We had the wettest July ever in my county last month, 20 inches of rain. Homes that have never flooded are now flooding due to upstream development. So to the question of what we can do about it, in a dense populated region as such as we have, there is no way to mitigate that. So this, as I mentioned earlier, this may be a helpful tool on some cases, but it's certainly not one size fits all. And thank you for the questions.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Members, any questions? Yes, sir. Representative Riddell.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. I just want to point out I come from an extremely rural area, and I gladly live in that very rural area. To each their own on that. But one of my concerns is, you know, if I have a farm and I want to build a 5,600 square foot barn to put my equipment in, that this would give power. Relationships are very important, and where I'm from, and you know this, Commissioner, if there can be, if you don't get along with your commissioners, they can make it very painful for you to to do what you may need to do on your property. And I do have concern. I get the point of the bill, and I like it, and I kind of wish it was bracketed towards populated counties instead. But I just want to point out that, you know, if I've got property and I want to build a barn on it, it would kind of make me mad if I end up having somebody getting in the way of telling me I can't build that barn because of possible flooding, which I get in the urban areas. I promise you I understand that. So.
Yeah, well, you know, with the 100-year floodplain areas, you know, a buffer, we may ask that, you know, just for insurance reasons, because if you are denied insurance because of an action that we took on the court, that would have detrimental effects to the whole county. So the reason that we would ask of you to elevate that 3-foot buffer, if you will, is so that we are able to save everyone the ability to affordable insurance regarding flood mitigation. So that may be the draw that you had with your commissioner's court on your building, if that were the case. But just to give you an example of why that was suggested or asked of you to do that. Thank you.
Copy that. I appreciate it. And I do get the point of the bill. It's just I worry that the effect that it has in the rural areas where we enjoy the freedom to take our risk and build as we would like to. So
that's the American dream. Yes,
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Members, any other questions? Thank you all very much for coming today and testifying.
Thank you for you being here through August, and this is crazy.
All right, this time Chair calls up Cyrus Reed, Walt Smith, Kenneth Flippin, and Stephanie Morris. Could you please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill for the record?
Cyrus Reed, Lone Star Chapter of the Sierra Club, in support of HB 117.
Walt Smith, County Commissioner, Hays County, Texas, Precinct 4, in support of the bill.
Kenneth Flippin, Texas Chapter of U.S. Green Building Council, for the bill.
Stephanie Morris, on behalf of myself and Birds and Bees Farm.
Go ahead, Mr. Reed.
Thank you again. For the record, Cyrus Reed, Lone Star Chapter of the Sierra Club, very much in support of HB 117. I'm going to start again, as I seem to in every one of these talks. The 2024 Texas Flood Plan had a recommendation from the regional groups. And that recommendation said, allow counties to collect drainage fees in unincorporated areas and clarify their floodplain management authority. We believe that HB 117 is one of those bills that helps clarify that authority and makes certain that counties do have the authority to regulate impervious cover for specific purposes, not in all cases. I know a previous witness mentioned that counties already have a lot of authority. We believe that this bill will help clarify that authority and make it clear they can take action, which would be very important. I also wanted to point out that in the Hill Country, as Representative Zwiener mentioned, there are very unique geographical features. There are natural features like caves, karst formations, that if protected, and Mr. Verdell knows this, if they're protected, they can serve as essentially flood mitigation projects, because then the water is going into those caves and karst formations and is not running off and endangering people's lives. So we think this is a very sensible bill. It clarifies that authority for certain purposes, and with that, we're very much in support. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Members or questions? Mr. Reed? Seeing none. Next record shows we have Walt Smith. You're here testifying on behalf of Hayes County and yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Please proceed.
All right, thank you, Chairman King. And as a conservative Republican county commissioner, I'd never thought I'd be sitting at this table with these distinguished witnesses, by the way. Let me just say that. But I want to thank y'all for your, and this just shows the importance of what we're talking about today. I appreciate the opportunity to sit here on this side of the dais for once. It's a nice change, and to share my support for this bill. My name is Walt Smith. I represent Precinct 4 in Hayes County, the fastest growing county and the fastest growing precinct in that county in the U.S. It's dramatically shifting from rural to suburban to somewhat urban. As a commissioner for that fastest growing county, since I've been in office, we've had multiple flooding disasters. And I believe this is an opportunity to curtail the loss of life and damage that comes in these situations, and it must be seriously considered. Changes in development laws in the state level over the last number of years have driven additional development into the unincorporated areas of our county. And while we welcome all these new residents and the economic growth which comes with them, the concerns over flooding are ever present and continue to be a concern. At the county level, in Hayes County at least, we've been very proactive in adopting the most up-to-date flood data, such as FEMA's Atlas 14 data. We've done our own flood studies on the Onion Creek watershed, looking at the Blanco River. If you'll remember, we had a tremendous loss of life in Hayes County during the 2015 floods. And shortly after I came into office in 2019, there was a loss of life in my precinct as well. However, the development that we see has a very direct impact on our floodways, and they shift on a daily basis. We can't keep up with data because we literally have so much development going on. Any authority which will allow counties to have similar authorities to those allowed in municipalities and ensures that water stays in place and doesn't cause damage or death to those downstream should be considered. And I believe that HB 117 actually gives us some of those and clarifies the authorities that were mentioned earlier.
Thank you for your testimony.
Again, appreciate your time, sir.
Yes, sir. Members or questions? Mr. Smith? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Next, we have Kenneth Flippen. Record shows you're Kenneth Flippen. You're testifying on behalf of Texas chapter of U.S. Green Building Council and yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Please proceed.
Again, Ken Flippen, Texas chapter of U.S. Green Building Council, strongly for the bill. And want to say this, is that especially, I think we're going to find, most of our commissioners' courts are Republican, but I bet you if you talk to most of them, they'd say, yeah, we have a new development coming in, that if we could have this tool, it would help us from getting older developed communities from being flooded, because exactly what they're saying is happening is that, and again, I want to respect our builders, but they're being a little penny wise and pound short, or pound foolish, because what you might save in making a development that doesn't have permeable surfaces, you're basically taking that and making your neighbor suffer the flooding because of that. And so these older communities are the ones that we're actually trying to save by making the newer communities be responsible in their development. The second thing I'd say is this, is that this permeable surfaces and having the ability to drain this water down into our aquifers has multiple benefits. It's not only going to mitigate flood, it improves water quality, and for those rural areas that are going to benefit because those aquifers, those people using those wells, they're going to have more water instead of less. We've been seeing them go down and down and down, but you know what's happened in the Edwards Aquifer because of the things that we've done? very similar. We've seen San Antonio be able to continue to pull from that while using other sources, mostly because they've protected that aquifer. We need to do that all across the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whip. And members, are questions of this witness? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Record shows we have Stephanie Morris. Stephanie Morris, you're testifying on behalf of yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
I'm Stephanie Morris, fourth generation Texan, nurse and beekeeper. I live in Leander, ETJ, Wilco, where the South San Gabriel River flows across our land. On July 5th, our home and bee yard flooded as the river rose 35 feet with filthy water and debris. We lost so much, but we are lucky. Our community is suffering. Texans are suffering from floods and from the policy failures that made them worse. Short-sighted development changed our lives and land long before this flood. We live downstream from the best, most beautiful pollutant discharge in the state. Millions of gallons per day of poorly treated wastewater turn a pristine stream into year-round stinky, rotting algae quicksand. It pollutes our land and degrades the river. They take our water and replace it with wastewater, flash floods, and fire. Developers reshape the land, raising grade, filling creek beds, and when people get up in her business. Now even small rains flood faster and angrier. Between storms, our wells, springs, and creeks dry up. It's not developers or cities with deep new wells going dry, it's ours. And it's not those sending their water downstream who live with the consequences. We do. Our rivers, our land, our health, our community. HB 117 matters. Impervious cover limits are disaster preparedness. They are flood mitigation. This bill gives counties a tool to prevent, not just clean up the devastation caused when we ignore hydrology, science, geology, our responsibility to steward the land and water we all depend on. Our lives, livestock, livelihoods, and Texan way of life are in your hands. Please do better for Texans. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless Texas.
Thank you for that testimony. Members, are questions? Ms. Morris. Mr. Wilson.
You used to be my rep.
Yeah, it's good to see you, ma'am, and
Thank you, sir.
it breaks our heart of all the disaster across Central Texas, and I got to see firsthand the area that you talked about, and I know you feel as if you were rushed. Is there anything additional you'd like us to know?
Just old school Texans, and maybe I'm naive, but I think that there are a lot of y'all who serve in that building every day. We don't treat our neighbors this way. Our freedoms are only possible with an equal measure of responsibility, and that comes at the individual level, and that comes at community system, business levels. And when there are folks capitalizing on the freedoms that are meant for Texans, and we're the ones stuck, and we can't sell from the water pollution, and now we flooded, and we really can't sell. Like, we can't, we are there, we moved there because of our community members, livestock access to water, and or because it's one of the only places they can afford to live. We are not vacationing. These are our homes and our businesses, our lives, and we really don't have much choice. We need your help. You're just giving people tools to be able to on the right counties, on the local level, then decide. But those of us in the ETJ, we are surrounded by development, and yet we still have little donut hole communities that are rural. We have no fire hydrants. Our roads are falling apart. Our buses are flipping because the roads are washing out secondary to runoff. Nobody who lives in that area ever thought of blaming a bus driver for that bus that flipped and those babies that suffered. Anyhow, sorry, I'll stop.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Members, further questions of this panel? I see none. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you again, Commissioner.
Yes.
Or Chairman.
Is this it? Last witness? All right. Chair calls Larry Lindenschmidt. Record shows you're Larry Lindenschmidt. You are testifying on behalf of yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Please proceed.
That's correct. My name is Larry Lindenschmidt. I'm a theologically conservative Christian and a politically conservative voter. I'm very much for this bill. Think about the golden rule. Treat your neighbor as you would like to be treated. Upstream water is going to go somewhere. If we can get it in the ground, it's not going to flow down and flood your neighbor. Higher temperatures hold more water. Our storms are getting stronger. The Gulf of Mexico is warmer. The storms coming out of it are stronger. We have to take all of this into account as we think about every incremental action that we can take. I'm delighted to see so many good bills being proposed by both representatives and senators in this session. And this bill by Senator Zwiener, it's not going to fix the whole problem, but it's going to help. And we need incremental solutions. This bill will help slow down water and floods. It'll help replenish our aquifers. It will save money when there is a flood that gets out of control because it won't be as strong. There won't be as much water. It's a mess now to clean it up, and you know that. I'm not giving anything new there. But anything that we can do to slow the water, get more in the ground instead of flowing, is going to make a big difference. It's the cumulative impact of all these things. This bill will allow the Texas Water Development Board, the districts, and the counties to work together better. It gives the counties another tool in their toolbox. And I have to say, I'm so disappointed in the Texas home builders. Think about D-Day. The Rangers lead the way. The home builders should lead the way. You can help everyone to see that vision as we look for ways, new ways to take care of these kind of problems. So remember, upstream water eventually gets downstream, and we need to take care of those downstream people. Thank you for your attention. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Some of the groups I work with include the Hill Country Institute, and Kenneth and Cyrus, who spoke earlier, and the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance. We're all behind this bill. Thank you, sir.
For your testimony. Members, are questions of this witness? Seeing none. Thank you for being here. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 117? Hearing none, Chair recognizes Representative Zwiener to close.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and members, and thank you to the witnesses who came. I think we had a little more interest than I expected today, but I'm really grateful for that. I want to address just a couple things that came up. One is the main authority counties have right now is to make sure that people don't build actually in the 100-year floodplain, or that if they do, their finished floor is above that level. That's not the problem this bill is trying to address. This bill is trying to address large-scale development that is above the floodplain but is exacerbating the flow of water into the waterways. We're usually looking at shopping centers or multi-building apartment complexes, not a barn like you referenced, Representative Riddell. There is also some drainage authority at the county level, but drainage doesn't work the same way in my neck of the woods that it does in the coast. You know, the general theory of flood management near the coast is you get the water in the waterway as fast as it can and get it into the ocean. Well, the ocean's a long way away from the hill country. And so if you move that water off the land faster into the streams, that's what exacerbates those flash floods. So this bill is designed to help communities continue to use the natural landscape to keep water from flowing more quickly into those streams and exacerbating these flash flood situations. So members, I'd appreciate your favorable consideration, and if there are no questions, I close.
Members, are there questions of Representative Zwiener? Do you have? No questions? All right. Thank you for being here. All right. The committee, hearing no questions, the committee sub is withdrawn. Is there objection? If there's no objection, House Bill 117 be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 117 is left pending. Yeah, which one? Where is she? There we go. Chair lays out House Bill 171. Recognizes Representative Hicklin to explain her bill.
Thank you, Chairman King, committee members. The tragic loss of over 135 lives underscores the urgent need for legislation to better warn individuals about the risks of camping in areas where flooding is a potential danger. House Bill 171 requires campgrounds located on or near bodies of water prone to flooding to provide written notice informing campers of the possible flood risk. Campers or a parent or guardian in the case of a minor must sign and return a statement to the campground operator acknowledging the receipt of the notice before their stay. A campground operator who fails to comply with the flood risk notice requirement will face a civil penalty of $1,000 for each violation. Essentially, this is informed consent that you're staying in a flood zone. My hope is that this bill will ensure campers are informed about the potential natural disasters that could occur during their stay, thereby helping to protect their lives in the future. Chairman King and members, thank you again for your time today. I'm happy to answer any questions, but if there are none, I'll reserve the right to close.
Okay, members, are there questions for Ms. Hicklin? I see none. Is there anyone wish to testify on, for, or against House Bill 171? Have you registered, Mr. Lindsmith? Okay, 1 second. We've got to change your registration. Come on up. So you registered in favor, but not to testify?
Yes, sir.
And you would like to change?
Yes, I'd like to testify.
To testify?
Yes, sir.
And we have your permission to make that change?
Please do. Yes, sir.
1 second. Got it? There it is. All right, now we show you as Larry Lindenschmidt. You're here on behalf of yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Larry Lindenschmidt. I'm here speaking on behalf of myself. I'm a theologically conservative Christian, a politically conservative voter. I'm also a member of the Evangelical Environmental Network, and I can tell you that Christians, and not just Christians, everyone is crushed by what happened at Camp Mystic. And this bill will help people to be informed, and they can make decisions. But I think if you were informed, some different decisions would have been made. And so anything that gets the information back to the parents and they're fully informed, the Evangelical Environmental Network, the Hill Country Institute, all the groups I work with are for. So please, this is the kind of bill, this is the kind of incremental improvement that we can make. And safety is paramount. It's number one. We have to think about the safety of our kids when they're in these camps. There were mistakes that were made. There were opportunities that were lost. So grab the moment. This is the time to fix as much as we can. I know you know that. And I know that you've heard some heartbreaking testimony. And I just want to say my heart's one of those that's broken. I know families, I know families that lost kids. So please, take care of those kids.
Yes.
Let the parents know. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, any questions, Mr. Lindenschmidt? Seeing none. Now, is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 171? Seeing none. If there's no questions, Chair recognizes Representative Hicklin to close.
Thank you, Chairman King. Again, this is about informed consent, not just for campers at summer camps, but also anyone traveling with an RV or wanting to camp in a tent in an area where there's commercial opportunity. They just know. Thank
All
you.
right. Members, are questions of the representative? Seeing none. Thank you for being here. All right. If there's no objection, House Bill 171 will be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 171 is left pending. Chair lays out Senate Bill 18. Recognize Representative Gerdes to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 18. Plum Creek Conservation District in HD 17 manages 28 flood control structures built on the tributaries of Plum Creek and Hayes and Caldwell counties. Plum Creek became the origin of this bill when it was engaged in upgrading a number of its sponsored structures in cooperation with the National Resource Conservation Service. The district experienced delays due to drought and the permitting process that prompted the need to seek solutions on a long-term basis. SB 18 would enable a qualified district to use a permit exemption in order to save up to 300 days for the following purposes: diverting water from a reservoir as needed for the purposes of repairing, maintaining, or rehabilitating dams and reservoirs, or building a small holding area for the purposes of erosion, floodwater, or sediment control. Simply put, this bill would help remove red tape for those types of districts
and allow them to better serve their purpose. Thank you. If there's no questions, I reserve my right to close.
All right, members, are questions of Mr. Gerties? We have one witness. You'll wait. Okay. All right, you have a witness. We'll call you back shortly. Chair calls Daniel Meyer. Record shows you're Daniel Meyer. You're testifying on behalf of Plum Creek Conservation District, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
Yes. Hi, Chairman King and representatives. My name is Daniel Meyer. I'm the manager for Plum Creek Conservation District, and we are located in portions of Caldwell and Hayes County. The Plum Creek Conservation District supports Senate Bill 18, and the district, we're a local sponsor of 28 flood control dams, which were constructed during the 1960s. So Senate Bill 18 will allow our district and other similarly situated districts around the state to utilize, when needed, the surface waters in the reservoir of a dam below the lowest port level of the for rehab and for repair projects. So during the ongoing drought, a couple of our rehab projects experienced delays because we had not yet received the necessary water permits at the time when we needed them. And also the temporary permits that we had through TCEQ had reached their limits. So during these delays, the dams were more vulnerable to erosion and to possible failure. So Senate Bill 18 will also improve government efficiency by streamlining the process and freeing up state personnel to work on other pressing matters and lower the cost attributed to hiring contractors because our contractors naturally want to have certainty that they have an adequate water supply. So again, thank you for Representative Gerdes and for sponsoring this bill and for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, are questions, Mr. Meyer? Seeing none, thank you for being here.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on for against Senate Bill 18? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative Gerdes to close.
It was 12 bills away from getting passed on the House floor before the deadline and came out unanimous out of the Senate and the Natural Resources Committee in the regular session. Appreciate y'all's support and
Members, are questions, Mr. Gerdes? No? Seeing none?
Close.
You close?
Thank you.
All right. If there's no questions, all right. If there's no objection, Senate Bill 18 will be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 18 is left pending. We will go. I've got to go.
This time, Chair lays out Senate Bill 3 and recognizes Representative Wilson to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. The recent devastating flood in Kerr County and across central Texas highlighted how critical early warning systems are to protecting lives. And as you know, many rural river systems in Flash Flood Alley are home to youth camps, RV parks, and other gathering places near flood-prone rivers. With limited cell phone coverage in many of these areas, we must rely on proven technology like outdoor warning sirens. Essentially, Senate Bill 3 requires the Texas Water Development Board to identify flood-prone areas where outdoor warning sirens are necessary, based on historical flooding, loss of life, residential exposure, and other relevant factors. Once identified, the responsible municipality or county must install, maintain, and operate the sirens according to the Texas Water Development Board rules. Some key provisions of this bill is identification, whereby Texas Water Development Board must identify areas with a history of severe flooding, loss of life, or significant residential exposure. Local responsibility Municipalities and counties are required to install, maintain, and operate sirens in those areas. Establish standards. Texas Water Development Board will adopt rules on operation, testing, equipment standards, and backup power. As to compliance, the Texas Water Development Board may withhold future project funding for jurisdictions that do not comply. Funding. The good news is a new state grant program administered by the Office of the Governor, which we saw and heard on the floor with the Preparedness Senate Bill 5 yesterday, will help local governments cover installation costs. The bill directs Texas Water Development Board to adopt procedures for siren operation, minimum equipment standards, and requirements for backup power sources. Local governments must regularly test those sirens and document results. Jurisdictions already operating compliant sirens are not required to duplicate those systems. To offset the costs, as mentioned earlier, Senate Bill 3 creates a state grant program administered by the governor's office with appropriations in Senate Bill 5. Importantly, Texas Water Development Board may withhold financial assistance from non-compliant jurisdictions except for siren grant funding. In closing, Senate Bill 3 provides Texans with another layer of protection against flash floods by preparing state oversight with local responsibility and by funding implementation through a state grant program. This bill ensures that communities across Texas are better prepared for future flood events. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and available for questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Chair hearing none, we're going to reserve your right to close. At this time, Chair calls up Cyrus Reed, Kenneth Flippin, Stephanie Morris, and Shane Somm. If you could please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill for the record.
Cyrus Reed, Lone Star Chapter of the Sierra Club, in support of SB 3.
Kenneth Flippin, Texas Chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council, in support of SB 3.
Stephanie Morris, on behalf of myself and Birds and Bees Farm, in favor of SB 3. Thank you.
Shane Somm, City Councilman, Lago Vista, in favor of SB 3.
Ms. Morris, you registered as yourself. Would you like to change the reflection on that? Okay.
No.
Testify? Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Reed.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Cyrus Reed, Lone Star Chapter of the Sierra Club. Again, going back to the state flood plan, Water Development Board had a number of recommendations. One was increased funding for low water crossing safety with structural upgrades and warning systems. Recommendation number 4 from the board was prioritize and expand funding for implementing flood early warning systems on a regional scale with emphasis in rural areas. We believe this bill does that. The one comment, and I submitted some written testimony, the one comment I have, and I think I had the same conversation with Dr. Bonin, is we want to make sure that the funding going to the governor's office is carefully coordinated with the folks at Water Development Board, because obviously they have a flood infrastructure fund. They can give additional funding. I think the bill does that by saying the Office of the Governor can sort of give their grant program to another agency. I've suggested some language if you want to take it, but just making sure there's that coordination, because we don't want to duplicate resources or efforts. We want to make sure we're a well-oiled machine, and that at the end of the day, people who live in flash flood areas are getting warned and getting out of danger.
Thank you. Again, Shane Somm, City Council, Lago Vista, in favor of SB 3. I want to thank y'all for bringing this forward. I've heard from no citizens that they don't want this. They want more warnings of the flood. Lago Vista is a peninsula. We're surrounded by water on 3 sides. We're only 5 minutes from Sandy Creek. So when this was all going on, I was actually at the EOC in Lago Vista with Travis County EOC number 1. People were very scared. They weren't certain what was going on. Unfortunately, not everybody voluntarily signs up for Warren Central Texas, and so we've been trying to get folks to sign up on that, and they weren't sure what was going on. So I think this would solve a lot of those fears. And then obviously a lot of our citizens went over to help the residents in Sandy Creek. I had the honor of being there on Monday at Sandy Creek with the chairman of the International Lions Club, who came to see what was going on, and we heard from some of the residents there. One of the terrifying stories we heard from one of the residents was that they didn't know that the flood was coming, and the only way they found out was debris was hitting their house, and she heard the brackets snapping from the cement in her house as her house was lifted up, and they were trapped in the house as it was going
down the river, and they were in there with their 1.5-year-old, a 4-year-old, her husband, and they said all they could do was pray, and they said they just received no warnings beforehand. So my hope is that we implement this program, we get more warning signs out there for folks, and we can prevent these things from happening in the future. So thank you.
Kenneth Flippin, Texas Chapter of U.S. Green Building Council, strongly for this bill. I want to first off thank the sponsor, but especially on the Senate side, I think Senator Betancourt did not only a good job on writing the bill, but also during the hearings, turning some of the witnesses that originally said that they didn't see the real value of alarm system saving lives, and they came around after his good questioning. The other thing, I've been going to the Curve of Hope Festival for 20 years. I've been in the rivers down there a lot. I do think that we've got to consider like emergency scenarios, or it changes every single time. Next time it could be during the day, an emergency system. In key areas I've seen where there's literally hundreds of people in those rivers, and an emergency system that would go off would definitely save lives in the right scenario. So please support this bill. Thank you.
Hi, Stephanie Morris. Sorry, I didn't write anything, so please cut me off. Don't let me disrespect your time. Water's moving in ways that it has never moved before. Our home would not have flooded with that same amount of water 5 years ago. We assume some level of risk living in what was a rural area, particularly in riparian zones, but that risk has exponentially increased with the open land use, mostly choices of our state. But we don't have flood gauges on the South San Gabriel, definitely not on Sandy Creek, Leander, ETJ. We have each other, and when there were fewer people in that area, it worked, the system, and the water was more predictable. That system worked. You know, the guy upstream knew to call the downstream people when we had land lines that could get through to the downstream people. Our phone companies won't service those landlines anymore, even if we want them. Our cell service, because it's not much of a valley, but it's a little bit, it's enough that our cell service is horrific. We did not get the watches and warnings on our cell phones. And human nature is what it is. We cannot be dependent on cell phones and somebody knowing that they need to charge their phone, turn on certain notifications in order to get safety alerts. We need flood gauges to trigger sirens. And we need people to understand with public service like we need them to understand what that means. I was up in Oklahoma for a course in May, and I was a little bit disconcerted when I paid for my room at the lodge and when we checked in. The first thing they mentioned, I want to make sure we tell you, if the siren goes off, you go 200 feet to the north, that's the fire station, that is your safety protective area. Everybody knew that was the climate, that was the culture, that they just told anybody coming in where to go and what to do when they heard that siren. Alert fatigue can be a problem, so we need logical triggers for localized areas, but we need these sirens.
Thank you very much, Ms. Morrison. Members, any questions? Representative Riddell.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to point out, I'm not against sirens and I'm not against the bill, but something, and Kenneth, I appreciate you pointing out that scenarios, you mentioned scenarios. The siren discussion has come up because of this flood. That's why we're here right now. I think it gets missed a lot. One is these are called outdoor sirens. If you're indoors, you don't hear them. My house is 200 yards less from a siren, and we don't hear it if we're inside of our house when they do the regular test on it. And there are infrastructure issues, but, and you talked about evacuation. Let's say, you know, this was at 2, 3, 4 in the morning when this happened, raining. People would not have heard those sirens. That's why I go back to appreciate you saying scenario. But it is frustrating, and the geography is important too, because Highway 39, if people had heard those sirens and got in their cars and got on the roads, there's a very good chance that we would have lost more lives, that they would have been swept away in the cars. And so it's important to have a comprehensive plan. I just want to point out that in many of the conversations I've heard over this last month, some people have the idea that siren is the end-all be-all of this, and that's not the case. And so I just want to point that out, that sirens do play a role, like you mentioned. If it's daytime, people are in the water. But I just wanted to make sure it is pointed out that 2 o'clock in the morning, pouring down rain, the sirens probably wouldn't have been heard, and if they were, that might have been even more detrimental. So I want to make that point. Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Thank you all very much for testifying today. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on, for, or against Senate Bill 3? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Texas Water Development Board will be very helpful if you do think of some questions afterwards. I have had communities that have voiced some concerns that they already have sirens as it pertains to tornadoes, for example. And of course, when there's a tornado siren, it's to get indoors or seek cover. And in a case of a flood, it may be you need to go to high ground. And so I know that there will be some things that will have to be considered. Not one size fits all. Each community will be different, each situation will be different, and we'll rely on the Texas Water Development Board as well as Texas Department of Emergency Management to help us work through those, especially as they provide or look to providing the grants through and financial assistance. And with that, members, I close.
Thank you, Representative Wilson. Members, it's the chair's intent. If there's no objection, Senate Bill 3 will be left pending. Chair lays out House Bill. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 3 will be left pending. Chair lays out House Bill 149 and recognizes Representative Louderback to explain the bill.
Thank you, Chairman, committee. Appreciate you letting me lay out House Bill 149. I think the fundamental part of this, we've heard about operability and interoperability on our radio systems for some time now. Actually, public safety in our state has lived with this issue for many, many years. And it has haunted us for some time. In fact, it's just a way of life if you're in the law enforcement public safety community. So what this bill attempts to do is create a situation where we stop becoming uninteroperable and we start moving in the direction where we can become a operable and interoperable state. So tactically pausing a request to the governor's office, which currently 421 of the government code, the governor's is already assigned to develop and administer strategic plans for interoperability. So where we have failed in our state for so many years in this area is that we allow an uninteroperable situation to happen. I have two situations in my district right now which have created an uninteroperable situation. And I think if we don't start moving to stopping the chaos and stopping the bleeding of doing this, that we're going to simply continue to struggle with an operable or interoperable radio communications, land mobile radio portable situation in our state. It is in every disaster. It is in every situation that we have. It's 24 hours a day. It's every 911 call. There's too many uninteroperable situations where radio communications are simply very difficult and very problematic to achieve. And so many people don't understand this and haven't been in the industry as to what we've actually been dealing with for a very long time, in excess of 20 plus years. So the situation, in my opinion, cannot continue to be allowed to go on. We must have a mechanism in place where we can tactically pause and re-steer the ship towards an interoperable situation and stopping the uninteroperable situations. And that's what this bill attempts to do in its entirety. It's very simple. It's not retroactive. I'm sure there are many things. It's not designed to cost any money. It's simply a direction, policy change, law change to start making everyone look towards an interoperable situation and stopping uninteroperable situations. So it's a monumental change in way we've done business, because we've actually allowed this to happen. We've actually allowed an uninteroperable situation to happen. And so when we allow this to happen, if we don't stop that, we're always going to have it. So this is the first attempt, really, along with House Bill 3 from Chairman King. This is a complement to that. The council may become involved in this. You know, I know there's a lot of ideas about this, but the fundamental part is, if we don't tactically pause radio communications and re-steer everyone back towards an interoperable situation or an operable situation, then we're going to continue to bleed. So, thank you, Chairman.
Members, any questions for Representative Lauterbach? Representative Riddell.
Sorry, I'm always the guy with questions. I think I understand the bill. So basically what this is saying, I know it says political subdivision. What we're really focusing on is fire departments, EMS, and police, law enforcement. And basically it's to create a standard that the governor's office would set, and you would not be able to basically purchase radio systems outside of what that is approved for by the governor's office. Would that be correct?
That's correct. We're asking for a tactical pause. If an application comes into the governor's office for a new radio system, let's make sure that that system is not going to make an uninteroperable situation with your adjoining counties. So we simply start stopping the things which are causing the problem and start moving in the direction where we can solve it.
I appreciate it. I like that. Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Chair hearing none. We don't have anyone signed up to testify, but is there anyone willing to testify on, for, or against House Bill 149? Chair hearing none, recognizes Representative Lauterbach to close.
Well, thank you, Chairman, for listening to this. I believe if we'll take a look at this bill, this could be a monumental sea change for public safety in our state. And with that, I close.
It's Chair's intent to leave House Bill 149 pending. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 149 will be left pending. This time, Chair lays out House Bill 164 and recognizes Representative Riddell to explain the bill.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. Get prepared here real quick. I got a short cord on my mic. I apologize. So I normally, most bills that I follow are usually my ideas. This one was actually a bill that was designed from a constituent within Kerr County, and they're watching their neighbors go through this situation right now. So what House Bill 164 is doing is it's establishing a Texas flood recovery and reimbursement and reconstruction program for targeted and fiscally responsible relief impacted by July 2025 Hill Country. So that's one thing I will point out, is this is focused on the Hill Country. It's reimbursement of real and personal property losses and incentives for repairs and constructions. It offers an online application feature, provides for a review process for approving or denying. And if you get a chance to look at the bill, it's pretty extensive, and I think it's very clear on who is eligible and who isn't eligible. So those that are eligible, it's a person that's domiciled in the state, owns real property that sustained flood damage, this is an important part, maintained residential or commercial insurance coverage other than flood insurance at the time, and the insurer or FEMA wholly or partially denied person's property. It would require that within 15 days that they request to participate in this. There is an extension exemption in there if it need be, but it would basically allow, if your insurance or FEMA didn't assist in the way that you needed, you're able to go and apply for that assistance. It has a very low fiscal note in comparison to what we spend in our Texas budget of about $11 million. And priorities given, there is a priority section in here. Priorities given to those applicants' primary place of residence or small business was denied. Those applicants that are non-primary residents or other family-owned property was denied. And then those applicants who paid flood damage claimed equal amounts less than 50% of the applicant's total loss. And it has an expedited section in it, and it's funded by legislative appropriations to the division and from gifts, grants, and donations.
Members, any questions for Representative Riddell? We'll go ahead and reserve your right to close then. This time, Chair calls up Brennan Griffin, Dr. Laura Presley, Cyrus Reed, and Kenneth Flippin. If you could please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill for the record.
My name is Brennan Griffin. I'm on behalf of Texas Appleseed on the bill.
Dr. Laura Presley for the bill, and I have a handout. Should I give it to you, Representative Verdell? Hand these out. Okay.
Kenneth Flippin, Texas chapter of U.S. Green Building Council, and Cyrus asked me to say he's covering another bill, but he also wanted to express his strong support.
Thank you. There it is. All right. Record shows we have Brennan Griffin. And you're Brennan Griffin, you're testifying on behalf of Texas Appleseed, and you are neutral on the bill, is that correct?
That's correct.
Please proceed.
Hi, thank you to the chair and committee for this opportunity to speak. I'm Brennan Griffin, the Senior Deputy Director for Texas Appleseed. We are a nonpartisan, research-driven organization working at the intersection of advocacy, policy, and the law to improve the lives of Texans. We think that this is a really promising start for for housing recovery in Texas. We think it's really important to have a longer-term plan to rebuild housing for all disasters, but this one in particular. I think the reasons we are basically FEMA only does a minimal amount for rebuilding. It's only to make your house minimally habitable. There are federal funds that sometimes come along in the form of community development block grants for disaster recovery, but those are not a permanent appropriation from Congress and often come years later. And so there's no real housing recovery program, and if you're unable to afford to rebuild, you're going to face some severe problems. The reason we're neutral and not for this bill, I think, is the main concern. We have a couple concerns, but the main one is really we are seeing for this particular disaster, we're watching the data on FEMA applications in real time, and we're seeing that over half of homeowners who are putting in FEMA applications have no insurance. And so we have a lot of elderly people, so maybe their houses are paid off. We've also seen Texas Department of Insurance has shown that we've got 40% increases over the last few years in home insurance, so it's becoming more and more unaffordable. So we really think that there needs to be a provision for people who were uninsured, did not have home insurance. We also are...
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Members, are questions of this witness? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Record shows we have Dr. Laura Presley. You're Dr. Laura Presley. You're testifying on behalf of Texas Disaster Relief Transparency Group, and you're for the bill, correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Representative Verdell, we love the bill, and what I really, really like about it, it's got a very consistent process. It's defined, the timelines are set, and it has transparency. This is ultra critical, and these people that were affected by this in Kerr County and across, other counties also. I would like you to consider outside, just not Kerr, but other counties also. What I have before you, I handed this out. We have formed the Texas Disaster Relief Transparency Group because there's been millions, hundreds of millions of dollars donated for flood victims. And these organizations have a lot of good intentions and they're doing good work. We decided to put together a transparency scorecard, and this goes directly to your bill, Representative Verdell, of why this is needed, because the public funds, to be quite honest, are not transparent to how much has been donated how much has been received, how much has been dispersed, how much is going to individuals, how much is going to businesses. And so I want to kind of walk through a couple of these items on the scorecard. There's 10 items, and we've got the score on the right out of 10. For example, the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country, the Rebuild Kerr Fund, has donations have been received over $100 million. They will not report exactly how much has been donated. I've worked with them for a month on this and emails and their website not having it. They've given out, they've shown what they've been dispersed. They do not show what donations are remaining. About less than 4% have gone to individuals, and 10% of the funds went to rapid disbursement, and we're now after that where 90% of the funds were not dispersed in the first 30 days.
Thank you for your testimony, Dr.
Thank
Presley.
you.
Members, are there questions? Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Presley, thank you for being here today and provide this is a pretty good roll up of all those entities that are accepting donations and of course distributing donations. Can you expand a little bit in terms of the transparency score piece across the top?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I will. You know, we're not making any judgments of are they making right decisions. That's not the point of the transparency. Just the transparency is the issue. Are they documenting and allowing the public to know what's been received and what's going out? So you've got one column, the donations received. Are they transparent about how much has been received? The total donations that have been dispersed, the rapid disbursement within the first 30 days, and then after that, how much of the donations that are still remaining to be dispersed, and what their future plans are, the percent of the funds that went to individuals, the percent of the funds that have gone to businesses, the percent of the funds that went to first responders, and the percent of the funds that went to a government entity. And then a scorecard out of those 10. And basically are they reporting in these categories? And it's really surprising. You've got a lot of red. Red means they're not being transparent. They will not produce the information. Some of the funds or the organizations are GoFundMe, which have no transparency whatsoever. And so I just want to highlight and underscore why this bill by Representative Verdell is so important. We've got a lot of public things going on, but we need a government program. And I'm a conservative, and I'm saying this, it's hard to believe, but you look at the data. Look at the data, why we need this. And I'm grateful, Representative Verdell, for this, and we're here for questions. And this will be a continuous process. We will update the committee on this, and these organizations have been told that we would be doing this report to you, and we would be reporting this to the public, because I think we need transparency with regard to where these funds are, where they're going, and the timeline and the distributions. And I'm here for questions.
Thank you.
Okay. Members, other questions? No? Yes?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you.
Presley. Cyrus Reed. I don't see Cyrus. We're going to show Cyrus Reed was here on behalf of the Lone Star chapter of Sierra Club for the bill, not testifying. Record shows we have Kenneth Flippin. You're Kenneth Flippin. You're testifying on behalf of Texas chapter of U.S. Green Building Council and yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Please proceed.
Again, Ken Flippin, Texas chapter of U.S. Green Building Council. I want to say, Representative Verdell, this is an excellent bill. I'm even more impressed by the fact that you openly said it was presented to you by a constituent. I want to say that that's what's great about and how many state reps that we have that do open up their offices to good ideas from their constituents. I want to encourage more reps to do that and talk about it. Secondly, I want to talk specifically about some of the provisions I think are very important. I really like how there's a 50%, and this is section 419A of the bill, and there's A and B. A says 50% if you're rebuilding in the same floodplain, but 100% if you build higher. And this is exactly what the incentives that we think are smart, because they're going to have to rebuild. But instead of telling people like, well, you can't rebuild, we're not going to give you anything if you do it the way you want to do it, but we're going to give you more incentive to do it right so that it's safer. That's the kind of program that will make the most sense. And so I just want to say, we think that this is a well-designed bill, has a lot of good incentives to build safer. And that flood mitigation, again, those techniques do more than just prevent flood mitigation. They improve the water quality, they improve the value of the land. When we are actually feeding those straws that were talked about before, we're feeding those aquifers, we're improving the quality of land for farmers and ranchers as well. So there's a lot of reasons why this is going to help your community. Thank you.
All right. Members, further questions? Okay. We do have one. Who is it? Oh, there it is. All right. Thank you all for being here. Chair calls Ashley Harris. All right, Ashley Harris, we show you are here on behalf of United Ways of Texas, and you're neutral on the bill, is that correct? Is all that correct?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Good morning, members. Ashley Harris, United Ways of Texas, here testifying on House Bill 164. I just want to take the opportunity to, while you're talking about this bill, to share more about ALICE, and those are households that are asset limited, income constrained, and employed. These are our working Texas families who earn above the poverty level but still struggle to cover basic needs. During floods and disasters in particular, our ALICE families are especially vulnerable if relief programs are not accessible and targeted to their needs. So when I saw this bill come up today, I just want to provide some initial thoughts. Representative Verdell, I know I'm going to follow up with your office too, and appreciate you bringing this. Just so some initial thoughts, I think it's important to maybe think about creating a set-aside for ALICE households so they don't fall through the cracks. They often don't meet those traditional eligibility criteria for big relief programs like this. Also, I think it's important to place greater weight on income and award prioritization. Also, to provide support for relocation so families aren't forced back into high-risk areas. And lastly, something I'm happy to explore further if of interest and to be a support to the office on is to keep those applications as simple and accessible as possible for those with limited resources, especially for our seniors who may not meet all of the, as the language is right now, meet all of those eligibility criteria. So I think these steps could be important and to ensure that the bill not only helps families rebuild, but also strengthens their long-term resilience after the recovery process. And I think it's important to remember that ALICE growing population actually is seniors. ALICE is our local cashier, our child care provider, our small business owner. We want to ensure that these Texans are also supported in recovery because they do keep our communities running, especially our smaller communities. Representative Verdell, thank you so much for bringing this and appreciate the opportunity to maybe continue working with your office to ensure that we can ensure that all of our Texans who are most vulnerable can be supported by this program.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Members, questions this witness? I see none. All right, where's my book? Okay. Members, that's all the witnesses I have signed up. Is there anyone else wish to testify?
I would, yes. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, before you talk,
May I? No.
please come up and
Okay,
please
I'm
come
so
forward
sorry.
and let us get you on the witness list.
Okay, you're gonna have to register at the kiosk.
Say you need to go out in the hall. It's okay. If you want to testify, you go register and we will talk to each other for a minute.
Remind me the bill number?
HB 164.
just start.
Okay, now we show you're Stephanie Morris.
I am.
You're testifying here today on behalf of yourself, and you're for the bill.
I'm strongly for it, and I'm incredibly grateful for West Purdell for
Please
bringing
proceed.
this bill. I'm Stephanie Morris. Our home in Apiary flooded July 5th. I'm also a nurse. I have been for 25 years. I know about sentinel events when combination of different issues lead to trauma, disasters. And it's not just the event itself that traumatizes people and leaves it long-term. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, would you pull your microphone a little closer and speak up a little bit? We're having trouble hearing you.
It's not just the event itself that traumatizes individuals and families, the loss of life, the loss of property, but it is the weeks and months afterwards and attempting to recover on many levels, including financially. Navigate, even if you have home insurance, NFIP flood insurance, which is full of loopholes and a lot of reasons that they're not going to cover, even if you have coverage for contents, which we did. Navigating the NFIP and FEMA systems is incredibly difficult, and as our NFIP adjuster, it's so confusing. Carl said, after one of our volunteers had a stroke after he left our job site, ripping down halls, tearing down walls, tearing out insulation, he had a stroke, and the adjuster said, yeah, this is very common. My clients often die not only during the event, but in the weeks and months after, because navigating the stress of even navigating the recovery and the NFIP and FEMA systems, in addition to organizations claiming that they want to help, and you're inundated with people saying they want to help, but very few either actually have the means to. It's hard to tell what's a scam, what's not. And we tell our stories over and over and over, not trying to. Our flood coverage will not cover the majority of what we have lost.
Yep. Thank you for your testimony.
I just,
Members,
thank you.
Questions of this witness? Oh, Mr. Riddell.
Thank you, Chairman King. Thank you, Ms. Morris, for, don't feel bad for going to register and testifying. That's
I'm
nothing
sorry.
wrong with that at all. It's all right.
Thank you.
It's a good, sometimes people need a little quick break too. Did I see that you raise bees also?
Yes, I do.
Okay, my mom's also a bee raiser, so I appreciate the kind stuff you said. I wish I could take credit for this bill, but this really is a constituent that is watching this. Their house ended up, water came all the way up to their house, and they're watching their neighbors go through this.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, what county are you in again?
Williamson.
Williamson, okay. So, and I know Brennan had mentioned this earlier about possibly it just being Kerr County. And I may need to make a substitute for this, but what I see is it just specifies hill country, the July 2025 hill country floods. And so I could be wrong, but at the moment, what I am looking at and understanding is that this would apply to anyone affected by the 2025 hill country floods. And so I have a note here that maybe we need to designate that a little better of what counties that encapsulates, but I do appreciate you coming up, and thank you. So, yes, ma'am.
Could I say one thing? The families in Sandy Creek, which is actually a finger of Travis County.
Mm-hmm.
At least 10, if not more, individuals' lives were lost there, and many homes. So if it's going to be clarified, please, Williamson and Travis counties.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Copy that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, further questions of this witness? Seeing none, thank you for being here. All right. Now, is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 164? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative Verdell to close.
Thank you, Chairman King. Just for the members up here, if you notice that I have any flaws in the bills, I'd love to know about them and fix them where we can, and I would appreciate that constructive criticism if it's there. And with that, I close. Thank you all very much.
Well, I've just got one comment. The idea of the bill is good. Your constituents obviously are in need and are watching, and we do better work when the public participates.
Yes, sir.
I think. I see a few flaws. The only flaw that I can see is the next hurricane the next whatever, where's the money coming from? How do we structure it? And is TDM the right agency to actually administer it?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's my question. So,
I'm glad you brought that up. I had this answer for you already before you
Okay.
asked it. One of the things that, this bill is focused on the hill country, but I think what's valuable is when we put this in the code and if we have another special session because of a natural disaster with a special committee, a select committee, I think that this code could be amended very easily where it then shifts over to that natural disaster if that occurred. So, or there is another way to do it too, but
Sure,
I appreciate that, yes, sir.
well, if you're working on something of a substitute and some other language you're going to clean up, we'll look forward to seeing that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir. Cool. Thanks. All right. So you close.
Oh, with that, I close.
All right. If there's no objection, House Bill 164 be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 164 is left pending. All right. Chair lays out House Bill 123, recognizes Representative Martinez to lay out the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. This is Dr. Lanali's bill, and he asked for me to lay it out for him. House Bill 123 would prohibit overnight lodging in floodplains, require flotation devices in overnight facilities near waterways. It would also mandate weather alert radios in each overnight facility, a camp-wide warning system that reaches all, integrates with the National Weather Service and local river alerts, works offline, and can be manually triggered. This also requires a written emergency plan covering evacuation, transport, muster points, equipment use, EMS notification, warning system procedures, and active shooter response. This plan must be approved by the local emergency response agency, shared with campers and parents before each session. Weekly head counts reported to the agency, and require at least 3 evacuation drills yearly per session safety drills. Designates an emergency preparedness supervisor with each session to run training, maintain equipment, and ensure compliance. I believe that having a proactive approach is exactly what this bill does. It's about preparation, protection, and prevention so that tragedies like this shall never happen again in the state of Texas. And we respectfully ask for the support of House Bill 123.
Okay. Members, are questions of Representative Martinez? Seeing none, you have a witness. We'll call you back shortly. Chair calls Tyler Robertson. Record shows you're Tyler Robertson. You're testifying on behalf of Camping Association for Mutual Progress and Camp Longhorn, and you're neutral on the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman King and members. My name, once again, is Tyler Robertson. I'm here on behalf of the Camping Association for Mutual Progress on House Bill 123. I also serve as the director for Camp Longhorn C3. We strongly support the overall goals and many provisions of House Bill 123, but we do have some concerns with a few provisions in the bill. Our first concern is the prohibition of cabins located in the definition of floodplain. As we know, there are several different definitions and distinctions between floodways and floodplains. So we would urge a closer look to ensure the appropriate definition is in place, similar to the provisions that was added to Senate Bill 1 last night. Camps across Texas are as diverse as our geography. Many are located near rivers, creeks, coastal areas, or lakes, and the behaviors of those waters can vary greatly. A measure that may be appropriate for a river does not necessarily translate effectively to a body of water such as a lake. Second, while we agree the weather radios should be required, we think that it would be more appropriate for those radios to be in our cabins of directors, senior staff, and operational buildings. Our concern is having them in the cabins with minors sleeping. We know that this issue was also addressed in SB 1 last night. And lastly, with the disclosure of emergency plans, we just want to ensure this is done in a safe and confidential manner to ensure these plans do not get into the wrong hands. We look forward to continue working with you to craft policies that both honor the memories of those lost and ensure the safety of every child who attends camp in Texas. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, are questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you for being here.
Thank you all.
Is that it? All right, is there anyone else which to testify on, for, or against House Bill 123? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative Martinez to close.
And I close.
If there's no objection, House Bill 123 will be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 123 is left pending. Mr. Darby? Which one do you want to do first?
48.
Oops. All right. Chair lays out House Bill 48. Recognizes Chairman Darby to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, we all have alert fatigue. We currently operate multiple alert systems, including amber, silver, blue, endangered missing persons, a power outage, and active shooters. These systems have saved countless lives, but their frequency and overlap can overwhelm residents. The risk of desensitization, it's Friday, I'm sorry, I apologize, became clear during the July 4th flooding. RAND study shows that nearly 30% of Texas have disabled at least one type of alerts. This bill creates a 9-member alert notification system group within TDM, Texas Division of Emergency Management. It began the work no later than December 31, 2025. And they will look to study the effectiveness, coordination, and regulatory framework of Texas statewide alert systems. The study will specifically address the impact of notification fatigue, evaluate compliance with state and federal regulations, and explore ways to streamline and modernize alert operations. The working group may consult with FEMA and other agencies to gather necessary data and expertise. They will conclude their work no later than December 1, 2026, and the act and the working group will expire on January 1, 2027. Ensuring that this is a targeted and time-limited effort to provide actionable solutions for the legislature. With that, members, I'll stand ready for any questions. If not, reserve the opportunity to close.
Members, any questions? Hearing none, we'll reserve your right to close.
Okay.
This time, Chair calls up Dr. Laura Presley, Kelly Rabin, Brock Davis, and Brendan Davis. You could please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill for the record.
You want me to go ahead? You want me to start before they?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Dr.
Yes,
Laura
ma'am.
Presley for the bill.
Hello and welcome.
You can go ahead.
You all can go ahead and just state your name and who you represent.
Hi again. I'm Kelly Rabon, and I am a mother from Houston. My sons, Braden and Brock Davis, were at Camp La Junta on July 4th.
And Ms. Rabon?
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and let Dr. Presley, since she already started, and then we'll get back with you so we can hear your whole testimony.
Oh, I apologize. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
I thought you
You're
were saying
fine.
that she'd started already.
You're-
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry. You're fine. You're fine. You did the right thing. You're fine. Don't worry
Okay.
about it.
Okay. I'd spoken at the meeting in Kerrville, Representative Darby, and I love the bill. I love it. I think it's brilliant that this study group do what's needed from a very detailed standpoint. And I had handed out, it was very late in the evening, some of you may not have been there, but I handed out a paper from, it was a published paper in 2016 by scientists, weather scientists at NOAA. And they recommend that we have a flood alert level, discrete levels, very similar to like hurricanes and tornadoes. And I just want to plant the seed again. You have that paper, and when this group, they're going to hold hearings and there'll be public testimony and all this, and I will be presenting this to them too. But I think this is a great opportunity for them to evaluate that. We don't need the federal government to make any designations for flooding, flash flooding degrees, and then You have public policy that you define. If it's this level, this is at minimum what these county officials have to do. No choice. It's defined, it's automatic, it's, not to every nth degree, but regard to this level. And then you get past this alert, fatigue, and you give these county officials guidance from you as a public policy. So I just want to reiterate that, and I will continue to work with that. The Lord put this on my heart. I spent hours praying for these children. I know we all did. And I usually don't work on these type of issues in the legislature, but this has been something that I'm very passionate about right now and needs to be done right. So bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Ms. Raybon, and are Brock and Braden going to testify with us today?
Brock would like to say a few words.
Would he? Okay, yes, ma'am.
Maybe. But if I could speak first, I think he may chime in afterward if
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
okay.
By all means.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kelly Raybon, and I am a mom from Houston. My sons Braden and Brock are here with me today. And they were at Camp La Junta on July 4th, and they are alive not because of an emergency plan, but because of the quick thinking, brave teenage counselors who saved them. I wasn't sure that I would speak again, but yesterday my 7-year-old Brock looked at me after hearing about some of the testimony from earlier this week and said, "Mom, can I please go and tell them what happened?" So that's why I'm here, for my sons and every child who still carries that terror in silence. And that's why I'm here to demand that you pass legislation that can make a true difference, and you pass it fast. There's things that should have been done, as I think we can all agree, a month ago. Ban camps from putting cabins in known flood zones, require real emergency plans that are vetted by professionals, notify parents immediately when something goes wrong, and hold camps accountable when they fail. This isn't just a suggestion. But I also have to speak my truth, because there was official testimony earlier this week that the legislature has heard, and it doesn't match what my children experienced. Like that campers practiced emergency drills on day one. My sons say that that never happened. We heard that there was an overnight security guard. So my question is, how did an entire dining hall start to fall apart without anyone noticing or calling? It was pure chaos at Camp La Junta that night. I still don't know what their emergency plan was, but whatever it was, if it even existed, it failed. And they're just lucky that all the kids are still here to tell a story. The truth is that it was the brave teenage counselors with no direction from leadership who saved my son's life. They are the heroes of this story. And any testimony that does not acknowledge their pure courage and bravery is quite upsetting to each of us. And I'm speaking on behalf of so many who don't have the courage to speak up today, but they will at some point. So again, we're here today to demand real change, and I'll close now and give a few words to my son. The voices that you need to hear are not just from parents, you need to hear from the children who are living with the consequences of what happened that day, the inaction of others, and, well, hopefully, better action moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Raybon.
Okay, do you want to just say your name? You want to say your name, please?
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Brock
Great. What's your last name, Brock?
Davis.
Thank you so much for being here.
Do you want to tell them what cabin number you were in?
My cabin number was cabin 6.
And you were at what camp?
La Junta.
And you're here supporting this bill, is that correct? That's how we have you registered. Yes, you're for this?
Is there anything else you would like to say, Brock? No. Okay. Braden, would you like to say? Okay. Do you want to say that you're in support of it if you are? Okay. Well, he assures me that he's in support of it.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for you all being brave, and we're glad to see you here. Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for our panel? Representative Johnson.
Kelly, thank you very much for being here. Braden and Brock, thank you for being here. You came up from Houston this morning. Your mom has had a chance to talk to some of us both at the Kerrville hearing. She came up and testified for y'all, but she's also continued to reach out to us ever since then. If either one of you are comfortable answering, it might help us. But I know it's rained a lot in Houston lately. And how do you feel now when you see the rain?
Well, when I see the rain, I mostly think, well, yesterday there was really hard rain and, well, I wouldn't say flooding, but where my dad lived, there was like high waters a little bit. And that kind of freaked me out because I went through something that I probably shouldn't have, but camp that day affected me, and it will probably for the rest of my life.
You were worried about your little brother.
Yes.
Makes you a really good big brother. We really appreciate you coming. Brock, we're so proud of you and so appreciative that you would come. How about when it rains for you back home?
I'm scared.
You get scared? Yeah. Did you get scared before? Yeah. So before the camp experience, you weren't scared of the rain? And so do you know your mom has wanted to make sure that y'all get all the support and help you need, right? Yeah. Well, we're really proud of you both and appreciate you being willing to come to Austin. You represent a lot of little boys and a lot of little girls that need us to do some good work. So thank you both.
Chairman Dark.
Thank you. Again, Braden and Brock, we very much appreciate you being here. As Representative Johnson said, you're representing, by your presence here today, the voices of other campers, not only at your camp, but other camps along the way and down the river and across various parts of the state, for that matter. And we very much appreciate you being here. Kelly, it's good to see you, and maybe in your words, if not Brock or Braden's, tell us a little bit about the bravery of that counselor and what happened in the immediacy of the moment, even though there may not have been a plan. I'm keenly interested, and I think this committee is, about the immediate response that took place that saved your boys' lives, and I'd like for you to share that if you can.
Of course. Thank you so much. I have spoken to several counselors, not every single one, but those that, I've been able to, and parents of counselors as well. Yes, would you like to say something? Okay.
One of the Camp Mystic girls went down the river to our camp.
One of the Camp Mystic girls was?
Ended up at Camp La Junta,
at Camp La
yes.
Junta.
That was scary, huh? Yeah. The boys were, Brock, my understanding, was awoken when the mattresses were wet already. So the water had already risen that high so quickly into their cabins. And so at that point, things were already floating. One that I talked to yesterday said there wasn't even time to grab their own flashlights. And so then they started moving up to the upper bunks. Brock, how did you get to the upper bunk? Do you remember?
I climbed up to the ladder.
And then when they determined that that wasn't high enough, there was more water pouring in, then they went all the way up to the rafters. And I mean, I was even looking at a photo this morning, and it's so disturbing when you see the boys on mattresses with what appears to be about, a foot of clearance. Or sitting on the rafters with water about a foot away from them, and their head is about even with a ceiling fan. And there was discussion about, well, maybe we can pull out the ceiling fan and try to get out that way. There was no communication by all accounts that I've heard, and all I can do is represent the voices, because I wasn't there clearly, but tell you what I've heard on behalf of people who can't speak up themselves. They weren't being directed by anyone else, and a true adult. These were kids saving kids.
How old was that counselor?
17.
So we have a 17-year-old in charge of how many campers?
15, and then there were, so this, he characterized it as a building, but really it was 3 cabins in one structure. So really, and I don't have the specific numbers, but it could have been about 45 or 50, somewhere between 40 and 50 kids in there.
With one counselor?
No. With probably 2 counselors to each cabin, so maybe 6, would you say, counselors in total? 9. So, the counselors in training too. So maybe, yeah, somewhere between 6 and 9.
Now, this was not, I think I have seen videos of a cabin floating down. That was not these boys' cabins, right, that floated?
Well, sort of. So Brock's cabin was the cabin in the background that had water up all the way to the top, and he was in there. The smaller cabin that you saw floating by, those were, they say, staff members, but still they were maybe 20 or less, right? They were counselors.
Okay. And that floated down a couple
And
hundred
it
yards?
hit, and it hit the structure that Brock was in, yeah.
Okay.
Before it, yes, please, go ahead.
So what had happened was that little cabin, or what we call casas for the counselors and other staff, it had hit the structure that Brock was in and had actually knocked one of the walls down. So while they were up in the rafters, one of the walls fell down. And then it floated like 100 yards and then hit a tree, and then all the staff in there went out, and as soon as they got out, they started helping, trying to get out the other kids in the structure Brock was in.
But I think from your testimony, Kelly, that there was not a plan that was presented to the boys when they began their camping experience that week. Certainly not, there was no plan rehearsed. There was not an evacuation method set, nor was that rehearsed. There was no direction about seeking higher ground or assembly point. There was just nothing either practiced or in place that would have given your boys or other campers directions in time of crisis. Well,
yes, and, yeah, just a calamity of errors across the board as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I very much appreciate you boys. Thank you for taking the time to come with your mom and give us the benefit of your experience. It's meaningful. We're listening to you and others. We're going to do everything we can to protect you and people who want to enjoy the experience of camping. It should not be a life or death flip of the coin. It ought to be, we ought to be able to protect you in these situations. So thank you again for taking time. Kelly, thank you for coming.
If I could add one more thing, I also just want to say too, I mean, Brock is wearing his Camp La Junta shirt today, and we have Camp La Junta signs in front of our house still, you know, so it's not like, I want to make that very clear that especially this one, Braden, that was going to be his 3rd summer there. So it's a deep love for that camp. We just, I want to support their love for that. We just have to make it safe.
I think that sentiment is shared by most everyone. See the value in the camping experience. We certainly don't want to take away from that. I've had kids and grandchildren. My kids and my grandchildren have and are continuing to enjoy that experience. We just want to make it safe. It should not be. We as adults should put in place protective measures that will give these campers and their parents assurances that plans have been considered, plans have been adopted, plans are being rehearsed, plans are being executed, and at time of need, they are there available to save lives. That's what this process is about. And thank you for being an important part of that voice. Thank you, Mr.
Members, any other questions? No. Thank you all very much for being here today. And boys, thank you for your courage. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on for or against House Bill 48? Chair hearing none, recognizes Representative Darby to close.
Thank you, members. Thank you, members, and I close.
Thank you. It's the chair's intent to leave House Bill 48 pending. Is there any objection? Hearing none, House Bill 48 will be left pending. This time, chair lays out House Bill 66 and recognizes Representative Darby to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. This bill addresses a critical gap in Texas disaster recovery framework by creating a state-administered program that extends financial assistance not only to political subdivisions, which you've heard from, but also individuals and businesses recovering from governor-declared disasters. This bill creates a disaster relief and prevention matching grant and loan program administered by TDM. The program is funded through a new disaster relief and prevention account in general revenue supported by legislative appropriations, loan repayments, and private donations. The program offers 2 forms of aid: matching grants and loans. Political subdivisions and businesses in governor-declared disaster areas that qualify for FEMA or SBA assistance may apply for both grants and loans. Individuals may access low-interest loans for up to 10 years for the repair and rebuilding of homes and for mitigation improvements. Eligibility of uses of funds include disaster recovery, remediation, and the construction of infrastructure to prevent or lessen the effects of future disasters. To ensure accountability, all recipients must enter into written agreements with TDM and are subject to audit authority. Members, this strengthens Texas' ability to respond and recover from disasters by providing timely, flexible, and accountable state-level assistance. With that, members, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Reserve the right to close.
Members, any questions? Hearing none, I will reserve your right to close. This time, Chair calls up Dr. Laura Presley, Kenneth Flippin, and Larry Leinschmidt. Please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill for the record. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Laura Presley, representing Texas Disaster Relief Transparency Group.
Kenneth Flippin, Texas chapter of U.S. Green Building Council for the bill.
For the bill.
And I'm just going to call for Larry Lindenschmidt one more time. Is Mr. Lindenschmidt available?
Right. Dr. Presley?
Thank you. Representative Darby, thank you for this bill, wholeheartedly supporting this bill. One thing I would like to plant the seed and see if you would consider adding on page 3, section lines 12, 13, and 14, if you would consider allowing individuals to also access matching grants, not just loans. I just want to plant that seed, if you would consider that, I think, and also adding some timelines, limits of how soon this stuff has to be done, that would be very helpful. You know, I refer back to the scorecard that I gave you, and Representative Johnson, you were not here when I spoke before, but I want to make sure you got this. You know, transparency is a yes or a no. It's not a maybe. So when you look at all of the millions and millions of dollars that have been donated for victims of this flood, it's just basic requirement to be transparent. And I think what the government programs will do is provide transparency. How much, who's getting it, not people names, but what's been dispersed. We would like, I mean, you can just see from the scorecard that individuals, and if you look at line item 1, individuals are getting less than the businesses are from, you know, the over $100 million that have been donated to the Community Foundation, the Rebuild Curve Fund. So really, Representative Darby, this data supports adding in an individual component to the matching grant. And I'm here for any questions.
Just turn it off. Thank you for that testimony. Members, there are questions of the witness. Seeing none, thank you for being here. Yep, we will. Okay. We also, Stephanie Morse. We show you a Stephanie Morse. You're
Yes, sir.
Stephanie Morse, registered on behalf of self and Birds and Bees Farms, and you're
Yes.
for the bill, is that correct?
Apiary, very much so. I can't say that I am very familiar with the details of it, but I just would like to reiterate that those of us living with our home in Apiary flooded July 5th, the aftermath of that and navigating NFIP and FEMA, somewhat phantom resources that we've paid for. We've paid for it, but it's not. There's so much it's not covering, and I don't know how. Anything you can do to help businesses, individuals, anything helps. My husband, we own the property together. We are not married anymore. My husband lost tens of thousands of dollars. He is a general contractor in tools that are gone. You know, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they're not considered essential. But my daughter, who just started her life as a sixth grade science teacher, had been saving up items for her classroom, you know, hundreds of dollars of school supplies and things that she needs for these students and her Texas students. That's all gone. My son, he had insurance on his car, but the insurance for his car does not cover replacement. He still owes another $7,000 on that vehicle that he can't drive. There are just so many different layers, not to mention the home and other belongings, but, which is not at all. It's nothing compared to the families who have suffered and the lives lost. I know, but it is huge stress. It's a continued strain. So, I apologize for my lack of familiarity with the details, but please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members or questions, this witness? Oh, you, okay. Thank you for being here. Okay. Now we have Kenneth Flippin. Record shows you're Kenneth Flippin. You're here on behalf of Texas Chapter of U.S. Green Building Council and yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Please proceed.
Again, Ken Flippin, Texas Chapter of U.S. Green Building Council. I want to especially thank you for this bill. I want to point out that the value here is not only rebuilding, but also the flood mitigation part. The flood mitigation part goes back to what Larry was talking about. Our Christian values tell us that our neighbor is who we're supposed to love, and our neighbor is the person that we're saving when we do this flood mitigation as a community. Every drop of water that comes down is either going to go up through evaporation, it's going to go down through going through our soil, or it's going to go out. And that means that it's collectively pulling into an area that's going to cause more flooding. And so the more we can do to give these counties and cities the pushing that water down, the more it's going to improve safety, but also, again, all of those other benefits of having a healthy water system that makes our land and our soil like it was 200 years ago when the buffalo and the beavers were making our land into a sponge, versus now all the things that we have done have made it into a slide. We can change that. These are not liberal, new ideas. These are going back to nature-based conservation approaches that have been here long before we were able to understand them. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, are questions? Mr. Flip? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Last call for Larry Lindenschmidt. Okay, we're going to show Larry Lindenschmidt was here on behalf of himself for the bill, not testifying. Is there anyone else which testify on, for, or against House Bill 66? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative Darby to close.
Thank you, members. I close.
Okay, questions for Mr. Darby? Seeing none. All right. Hearing no questions for Chairman Darby, and he closes. If there's no objection, House Bill 66 will be left pending. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 66 is left pending. So now, okay, so these are our vote sheets. That's correct. Okay. Members, that concludes our bills that we're going to hear today. We're going to take up some pending business before we get out of here. Chair lays out House Bill 48 is pending business. Members, it's the bill that Chairman Darby laid out today regarding a working group to study alert notification systems. Chair moves that House Bill 48 without amendment be reported favorably with the full House recommendation that do pass be printed. Clerk, call the roll.
Vice Chair Martinez? Aye. Bonin? Aye. Darby? Aye. Johnson? Yes. Lauterbach? Aye. Moody? Aye. Verdell? Wilson?
Yes.
Chair King?
Aye.
8-0.
There being 8 ayes, 0 nays, motion prevails. Chair lays out House Bill 149 is pending business. Members, this is Representative Lauterbach. This is the bill Representative Lauterbach laid out regarding the approval of public safety radio communication systems for interoperability. Representative Bonin moves that House Bill 149 without amendment be reported favorably to the full House recommendation that it do pass be printed. Clerk, call the roll. Okay. Huh? Oh, let the record reflect that Mr. Verdell is present.
Vice Chair Martinez? Aye. Representative Bonin?
Aye.
Darby?
Aye.
Johnson? Yes. Lauterbach? Moody? Aye. Verdell? Wilson? Aye. Chair King?
Aye.
9-0.
There being 9 ayes, 0 nays, motion prevails. Chair lays out House Bill 254 as pending business. Members, this is the bill that Representative Ashby laid out regarding the Rural Infrastructure Disaster Recovery Program. We passed this bill in the regular session. It actually just expands it to include Kirk County. He was the first bill we heard earlier today. Chair moves that House Bill 254 without amendment be reported favorably. The full House recommendation that it do pass be printed. Clerk call the roll.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Aye.
Bonin.
Aye.
Darby.
Aye.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lauterbach.
Yes.
Moody.
Aye.
Verdell. Wilson.
Aye.
Chair King.
Aye.
9-0.
There being 9 ayes, 0 nays, motion prevails. Chair lays out Senate Bill 3 as pending business. Members, this is the bill that Representative Wilson laid out regarding outdoor warning sirens.
Because we didn't end up doing a substitute,
Okay,
and this will be without amendment.
okay. Representative Darby moves that Senate Bill 3 be reported favorably. The full House recommendation that do pass be printed. Clerk call the roll.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Aye.
Bonin.
Aye.
Darby.
Aye.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lauterbach.
Yes.
Moody.
Aye.
Verdell. Wilson. Chair King.
Aye.
9-0.
There being 9 ayes, 0 nays, motion prevails. Chair lays out Senate Bill 18 is pending business. This is the bill that Representative Gertie's laid out regarding the exemption from requirement to obtain a permit for certain dams or reservoirs operation and maintained for flood control. All right. Representative Moody moves that Senate Bill 18 without amendment be reported favorably. The full House recommendation that do pass be printed. Clerk call the roll.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Aye.
Bonin.
Aye.
Darby.
Aye.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lauterbach.
Yes.
Moody.
Aye.
Verdell. Wilson.
Aye.
Chair King.
Aye.
9-0.
There being 9 ayes, 0 nays, the motion prevails. All right, members, that concludes today's agenda. Is there further business before the committee to address? If not, chair moves to adjourn. Is there objection? Hearing none, the committee stands adjourned. Subject to call the chair.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right.